Call to order this meeting of the Peabody City Council. Please join me in a moment of silent prayer. Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilors, if there's no objection, I am going to move to item 7B. His Honor the Mayor would like to address the council. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good evening, council members. Here today for a couple of appointments that I'm very proud to bring forward to you this evening. The first is for our local building inspector. Wanted to submit for your approval tonight, Mr. Ronald Shaw. Many of you know Ron, who's been a long-time contractor here in the city of Peabody. I'm not going to say how many years, but I'll just go with long time. A long-time contractor, very well thought of, and has a great reputation in the community. He's been involved in many different projects throughout the city. Has, as I said, many years of experience. I think will translate very well into the work that we need done as a local building inspector. And a big part of that job, as you know, is working with the public, and I think Mr. Shah will do an outstanding job with that. He's here tonight, and we're looking to get him started. That office is very busy right now, and we're very looking forward very much to have him working for the city, and very proud to bring his name forward to the council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Gould, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve Mr. Shah and welcome him on board, Mr. Shah.
Councilors, you heard the motion. Roll call.
Councilors, Mitsoulas.
Yes, Mr. Shah, would you like to address the council?
No, I just want to see what he looks like, so I know who he is. Oh, okay. That's all. I didn't know who we were talking. No, okay. All right, that's it.
My name's Ron Shaw. I'm a lifelong resident of Peabody, and I've been a general contractor here for 30-odd years, and very much looking forward to coming on board, working for the city, my hometown. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, great, Mr. Shah, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Shah. Roll call.
Councilors, Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Sinowitz. Yes. Walsh.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Charis.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Absolutely yes.
Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0, 2 absent.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, council. I'm also very proud to bring forward today for a position as an alternate member of the Zoning Board of Appeals is Julie Picardi. As you know, the Zoning Board of Appeals, very difficult, challenging position. Many very tough votes and issues come forward to that group, and we do have an excellent Zoning Board of Appeals. And I'm very proud to bring forward Julie's name for that position. She is an attorney by trade and is also a real estate agent. She has an outstanding background. Just highlighting one thing that was mentioned earlier by President McGinn, and I think all of us were magna cum laude, correct, at Suffolk University, but she was magna cum laude at Suffolk University before getting her Juris Doctor, her law degree. And she's been working, as I said, as a real estate instructor and an attorney. And also, beyond that, she's been very active, involved in the Burke School and the PTO, and somebody who I've gone to know, and I think should be an excellent addition to the board, and somebody that has a lot of talent and a lot of ability that I think will translate well to the Zoning Board of Appeals. And she's also here tonight.
Thank you. Attorney Picardi, would you like to address the council?
Where is she?
I don't know if you can see me all. Hi, nice to meet you all. I am looking very forward to working with the city and attending all these meetings. I've never sat on a board before, so I'm interested to learn all the ins and outs of it. But like he said, I've been doing real estate, 19 years as an attorney and a real estate instructor, and also a real estate agent. So I look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Picardi. Councilor Gould.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the appointment of Julie A. Picardi to an alternate member of the Board of Appeals. So
Councilors, you heard the motion. Roll call.
Councilors, Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Sinowitz.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Charis.
Yes.
Turco.
yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0, 2 absent.
Thank you very much, council.
This meeting is being televised live on Cable Channel 9 and is being taped by PBD Access TV and is also being recorded by our City Council stenographer. Councilor Gould, we have a third appointment on that communication from the mayor. Would you like to make that motion as well?
I would, Mr. President, thank you. I'd like to make the motion to approve the appointment to the Board of Appeals of Daniel A. Senkaba. If I did not do a good job on that, I apologize to Daniel. To the Board of Appeals, so moved.
Councilors, you heard the motion. Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Sinowitz. Walsh.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Charis.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Gould. McGinn. Motion carries 9-0, 2 absent.
Moving to item 4A, would the clerk please read the notice? I'm sorry, this is not a public hearing. There is no notice. Councilor Matsoulis.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this is for a junk dealer's license that we held up at one of our previous meetings, and the purpose of that was Councilor McGinn had a couple of questions he wanted to ask the holder of the license, and we talked about it earlier, and Councilor McGinn is very pleased with it. So I'd like to make a motion to approve junk dealer's license 2016 renewal for Precision Estate Sales LLC at 26 Harley Street with one restriction on it. That would be that they are only allowed outside sales once a month. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Item 4B, would the clerk please read the notice of public hearing? This is a recessed hearing, so we did open this hearing. We've read the notice previously. Is the applicant here this evening? Ms. Torres? Yes, come on up. If you could just state your name and address for the record and just let us know what you want to do.
Yes, my name is Maria Torres, 79 Avon Street here in Peabody, and I'm applying for a special permit for a catering license.
Councilors, this was a recessed hearing because there was a problem with the application. It wasn't signed by the building owner. It was by the property owner. It was signed by another tenant. That's been remedied. So that's why it's back before us this evening. Is there anybody here that would like to speak in support of this application? Anybody here that would like to speak in support of this application? Anybody here that would like to speak in opposition to this application? Anybody that would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none. Councilors, this is in Ward 2. I've talked to Ms. Torres. I have no issue with this. We talked about deliveries to and from the address. It's all going to happen with a car. It's in the BC. I don't see this as significantly impactful, so I have no objections. Comments from other councilors? Seeing none, roll call. If I could have a motion, Council Matsoulis.
Motion to close the
hearing.
public hearing, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Council Matsoulis. You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Roll call. Sorry, folks, I'm not used to doing it from this, handling it from this chair. Move to approve the application from Maria Torres, 79 Avon Street, Peabody, Mass. for a special permit to operate catering business at 10 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. as filed in accordance with Section 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. Councilor Sinowitz, can I have that motion? You heard the motion. Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Sinowitz.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Charis.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Gould. McGinn.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0, 2 absent.
Set. Item 4C, would the clerk please read the notice of public hearing?
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as the special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, May 26th, 2016, at 7:30 p.m. in the Franco Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. On the application from DMC Auto Detail, Inc., 25 Perkins Street, Peabody, Mass. For a special permit to operate an auto detailing business at 23 Upton Street, Peabody, Mass. Is filed in accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. Peabody City Council, Councilor Peter M. McGinn, City Council President.
Is the applicant here this evening?
Yeah, he's here.
If you could please state your name and address for the record, please, and let us know what you'd like to do.
My name is Jonathan Silva, 25 Perkins Street. I'm asking for a special permit for auto detail. It's cleaning cars.
Thank you. Is there anybody here that would like to speak in support of this application? Anybody here that would like to speak in support of this application? Anybody here that would like to speak in opposition to this application? Anybody that would like to speak in opposition to this application? Seeing none, Councilor Matsoulis.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had toured the area where Mr. Silva is located, and he's got plenty of room to work inside, and that's what he told me. You're going to do everything inside, correct? Mr. Chairman, it's pretty clean cut. What he's going to be doing is detailing vehicles, and you'll be doing them by yourself? Or?
Correct.
Yes, okay. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Matsoulis. Other councilors? Seeing none, Councilor Matsoulis.
Yeah, motion to close the public hearings.
You heard the motion?
Oh, you've got to ask any in favor, any
I did.
opposed? You did, okay. Yeah, motion to close the public hearing. I got lost.
Councilors, you
like
heard the
Pete.
motion. We're confusing each other,
Yeah,
Councilor.
we are, okay.
All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Matsoulis.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve a special permit for DMC Auto Detail Incorporated, doing business at 23 Upton Street, for the purpose of auto detailing business. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Councilors, you heard the motion. Roll call.
Councilors Matsoulis.
Yes.
Sinowitz.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Charis.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0 to it.
Item 4D, would the clerk please read the notice of public hearing?
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as the special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, May 26, 2016, at 7:30 p.m. in the Franco Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. On the application from Selco Partnership, DBA Verizon Wireless, care of McLean Middleton, 900 Elm Street, Manchester, New Hampshire, for a special permit to construct a wireless communications facility on property located at 38 Coolidge Avenue, Peabody, Mass. Is filed in accordance with Section 6.1, 7.9, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. Peabody City Council, Councilor Peter M. McGinn, City Council President.
Attorney Swiniarski.
Thank you, and good evening, council members. I'm Chris Swiniarski from McLean Middleton. I'm here on behalf of Verizon Wireless. So, as the notice reads, we are here seeking a special permit for a wireless communications facility at the water treatment plant at 38 Coolidge Ave. In our materials, you'll see that we have shown you the gap in coverage that we have. It's very similar to the gap in coverage that we showed you about a year ago. That gap is roughly along the corridor of the southern end of Lynn Street. This proposal, we feel, is the most viable way to address that gap, and it's the least obtrusive. And I'll tell you why we feel that way. We had an initial proposal over a year ago. That was rejected. That is being litigated in state court right now. We have been working with the city in good faith for over a year right now. The city council approved issuing a request for proposals for this project. We responded to that. We were awarded that bid. We were moving forward. we had postponed litigation on 161 Lynn Street, thinking that the city was working in good faith towards the settlement that was proposed by the city. We learned very recently, in the last 2 weeks, that is not the case. So what we have right now is pretty simple. Litigation on 161 Lynn Street, as of 2 weeks ago, is moving forward. There are no more continuances. This is a way to get out of that litigation. It's really in the city's, the ball is in the city's court right now. It's a matter of choosing which one is going to be the one. With that, I can certainly answer any questions about the specific installation, but that is the situation that we're in right now.
Thank you, Attorney Swiniarski. We're going to hold off on questions. I'm going to ask if there's anybody here this evening to speak in support of this application. Anybody here to speak in support of this application? Is there anybody here this evening to speak in opposition to this application? If you could come up, it looks like there may be a few. If you could just kind of get in line up here, that would be great, in the interest of time. And as you come up, if you could just please adjust the microphone so that we can hear you and state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
My name is Kathleen O'Leary. I live at 34 Coolidge Avenue, and I am totally opposed to this. I look out at the pumping station, which has been there before I've been there. There's also a pump house across the street, which I look at every day. I don't want to look up and see a 150-foot cell tower. My suggestion is move it 1/4 of a mile to the right, and there's all high-tension wires and all that kind of thing there, and it would not be a deterrent to anyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's John McGinn. I live at 16 Pumping Station Road. My wife and I have lived there for the last 33 years. I think it's safe to say that we're both opposed to this proposal. For those of you who, I know several of the councilors were on the scene the day that Verizon had the balloon test. I think it was back at towards the end of April. And for those of you who didn't have the opportunity to see it that day, frankly, I think you'd be shocked at just how omnipresent this tower will be at 130 feet. Where my wife Julie and I live, frankly, and we're notified, and a lot of the people who are most affected by this live further away from what you're required by statute to notify as abutters. I don't argue with the city not properly notifying for this public hearing, but I have some pictures which I'm happy to share with the council that will show that from Lynn Street, this is more visible than where it is where we live. Even though we can't see it, we are impacted, but the further away you are, you can actually see it further. Streets that weren't notified at all over on Cedar Grove and some of those other streets off to that direction can see it very clearly because of the angle.
Mr. President, if I may, excuse me, motion to receive the pictures and pass around to the rest of the councilors, please.
Councilors, you heard the motion from Councilor Gould in the late communication. Nobody opposed to that? All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I passed those around and people can take a look at them. I think it's also important to realize that the city is in the midst of making a sizable investment in open space in the vicinity of where this tower is going to be proposed. The cemetery, the golf course, the new walking path from between Sid's Pond and then on the other side around Springs Pond. It's my understanding over $1 million of investment has been made in open space to what represents almost 300 acres of open space in that area. And this tower that's being proposed would be right in the middle of it. You'll see some pictures here that will show both from the walking path, from the golf course and the cemetery, that it is unmistakably becomes the focal point of what you would see. So not only are the abutters, but a much broader in terms of the all of the citizens of Peabody who would be affected just in enjoying what what a sizable investment that has been made. As I said, when people find out, and perhaps, you know, this hasn't really received a lot of news attention or whatever, but when people find out what's really being proposed, I think you're going to find that there's a lot broader opposition to this. I would say, I listened to the attorney earlier, and I don't think you want to solve one problem by creating another. And it's my understanding that there are alternatives that would be much less intrusive. I'm not a cellular engineer. I'm not going to pretend to be one. But I've heard of systems that involve the use of antennas on telephone poles. It may be more expensive for Verizon, but frankly, that's not the council's problem. That's Verizon's. I happen to be a Verizon cell customer and have been for years. Where I live, I have no problem with coverage, so I'm not quite sure I understand these coverage problems, certainly not in the vicinity where they're talking about putting the tower. As I said, we all are cell customers, and we've seen what has happened, particularly along highways, and how just ugly these things can be. But when you're talking about putting them and infecting a large area of South Peabody with a tower that would be 130 feet tall, and my understanding would service up to 5 different carriers, and we know what that's going to look like, and it would tower above any of the natural vegetation in that area. So I'd ask you for your consideration in opposing this special permit application. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who would like to speak in opposition?
My name is Maria Opidi. I'm on 10 Pumping Station Road. I think John pretty much summed it all up. One of our other major concerns, though, is when we heard that there was going to be a balloon and it was going to be at the end of Coolidge Avenue, and I get up and I looked out and I looked at the pumping station and I looked at Coolidge Avenue and there was no balloon. And then I turned and looked and the balloon is directly behind our homes. Pumping Station Road is one of the only streets that is parallel to Lynn. All of the other side streets there in South Peabody are perpendicular to Lynn Street. So they may see the tower out the side windows. We'll clearly see it. I also have photographs. We will see it from our deck, from our backyard, from every window in the back of the house. And I really think it's going to affect the value of my property. I know there's a blurb in the news that was out a while ago that said something crazy like, future homeowners would look at that antenna and say, oh, great, you're going to have terrific cell service. So it actually increases the value of your property. I really don't think so. I also agree with John. I've been a Verizon cell customer since day one, and I have no problem with my cell service. So I'd really like to understand who exactly this is benefiting. And also, I have also heard the alternatives of the individual antennas on the phone poles, and I agree, even if it is an additional cost. An alternative to having a look at that antenna is any alternative would be open to hear. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here else this evening that would like to speak in opposition?
My name is Ralph Freitas. I live at 20 Miles Road, which is actually on the opposite side of Spring Pond, overlooking across. I was actually on vacation when this balloon went up for, I guess, a few hours for people to view, so I never even got to see it. I've seen pictures of it. I've got to say, talking to a couple of my other neighbors over the last week or so, they weren't even aware of it. And it's definitely going to affect, I mean, as Maria said, it's got to affect the value of your property. Because right now, you look across, you got the pond, and you got look out into the the depths of Danvers and whatever, and Peabody. It's beautiful. You got a tower, 130 feet, just staring you in the face. It's not going to do well to my property values by any stretch. And I mean, I don't think that enough people have been notified about it, especially up in my neck of the woods. And I mean, they're down below. I'm up top, looking straight at it. I think, as John was saying, there's got to be other viable solutions in the city. There's got to be other places that this can go. And I also agree with him. You don't solve one problem by creating another one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak in opposition? Anybody? Please step forward.
Good evening, Council. John Swanson, 9 Welcome Street, Peabody, Mass. I was here about a year ago with Mr. Chris here, opposing the location that was in my front yard. I don't want our neighbors on the street to think this is not in my yard. I want it in yours. I think the City Council needs to take a look at this as a growth. And when I say growth, is this how we're going to solve the problems for the city? Or is it going to be one up on the hill there, one when they have a new technology that'll end up in my front yard? Or do you have the option of using other technologies, such as the antenna systems that's been brought up earlier, to accommodate the entire city as a whole? The other solutions that, yes, they cost Verizon money, but they'd be a better solution for the city as a whole. You know, what are the reasons as they change technology? 4G technology is out there right now. It's coming to the end of its life. They're already working on the next iterations. Will these towers support that, or will they have to come back to us again and say, we need to put more infrastructure up somewhere? Does this, as their bandwidth grows, the requirements for their bandwidth grows, are these towers going to suffice? Do these other systems that distribute across the city, do they solve a bigger problem? And I'd like that to be considered as you guys go take this to vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in opposition? Anybody else that would like to speak in opposition? Please step forward.
Craig Massoni, 6 Rainbow Circle. I actually don't support or oppose this. I think that anything that enhances public safety, which something like this will, is a good thing. I think it'll help out the police department, fire department, and the people of Peabody. That's all I'm saying in regards to that. Now, the other question that I have is what type of compensation does the city get from Verizon for letting them use our area? And if so, what will we do with that? I think what we should do with it is put it into our school system. The 2 schools that are out there now, the south and the other one down the street. I know a lot of things can be done there. I know a lot of things can be cleaned up. We can actually use it to buy, you know, in the past, you know, like maybe computers, things of that nature. I don't think it should be spread out amongst the city. I think it should be specifically used for Ward 1. We are the people that have to look at the tower. It's most likely going to go up anyways, so we might as well utilize it and take that money and put it somewhere where we can educate our children a lot more and use things in a more reasonable manner. That's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else who would like to speak in opposition, please step forward.
How you doing? I'm Timothy Hartney. I live over at 25 Coolidge Ave in Peabody. I just recently found out about a few weeks back for Mr. Tucaro over here when I had an incident about the speed zones in my street. This kind of came to a shock for me because I didn't see a balloon. I wasn't made aware via email or through the mail itself. I had noticed that this tower is somewhat going to be a problem, especially when our area, my neighborhood, has children around the area. And what are the chances that these radio frequencies can cause mild to severe tumors or any type of cancers? A lot of people say that, you know, especially with the Verizon, they're gonna discredit it. But me being a soldier, I have seen radio frequencies do interfere with certain brainwave activity, especially while being deployed. What are the chances that these radio frequencies are going to be high frequencies or low frequencies? If they're going to be low frequencies, they're going to be fine. But high frequencies, they can disrupt and they can distort the brain waves of a normal person. Not in the course of a day, but in a course throughout time. And on top of that too, our whole community relies on education. The gentleman behind me is right. If they want to build something up there, they should at least conceal it, or they should move it to another spot. And with all that money that's coming in for the city, it should be put towards the city, not towards the pockets of people that want to get paid for it. Our school system needs the money. New playgrounds, Our streets need to be repaved. I've been seeing, especially my street, a lot of potholes not being fixed. You know, the back area where Pumping Station Road is, between Coolidge Ave and all the way over to Rockdale. Potholes left and right, but nothing's been done or being fixed about it. This money can be used to be put back on the streets. And you know, with all this radio tower being put up, it's way too close towards our street. It needs to be moved somewhere away from where we're at. It needs to be in the tree line behind the pond, out of sight, out of mind, not over by where the cemetery is, not by over where the golf station is. It needs to be put in that tree line, out of sight, out of mind. Then only there it could be safe. Anywhere near these side streets, you're risking a personal health danger to our kids, and this is not fair to them. You need to take a look at that.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in opposition? Anybody else that would like to speak in opposition? Seeing none, Councilor Turco.
So, this original cell tower location at, what was it, 161 Lynn Street, the Michael's Limousine location. Forgive me if I have to go backwards a little bit. I wasn't on the council then, and I'm glad my predecessor is here in case I need his assistance. But that was voted down. We're in litigation with that site, and now here we are at the Coolidge location. And I understand, you know, where that at face value could look appealing, but there's a drastic difference between these towers. Primarily the height difference. We've gone from 60 feet to 130 feet. We've also changed the elevation. As the councils that were there that day, I think Councilor McGinn, Councilor Walsh, and I believe I saw Councilor Gould could attest it. As we hiked that area, it's very high up behind the pond. So on paper, it looks very good. So let me get to my question. What I can't figure out is where this need is. And you may have addressed this, and I apologize if you have, but I get about 40 phone calls a week. I don't think I've ever gotten a phone call regarding cellular service in the area. I have gotten phone calls about television, cable. So I guess to you, Mr. Swiniarski, or if you have an engineer with you, you say the need is on the southern point of Peabody, which I believe you mean the Browns Pond area of Lynn Street?
Yeah, if you turn to tab 3 in the application packet, at the end, attachment A will show you where that need is. And I can answer all of your questions and a lot of the others that were raised by some of the people speaking before. So let me first clarify one misconception that I'm hearing here about the pole top attachments. I was the
Just want to ask you, we'll get to that in 1 minute. I just want to, for my own benefit, because there's multiple locations here and a lot of information that I've had to go through over the last month or so, I'd like to stick to the need. So
I understand, but I need to explain the context to answer your question.
Okay, but we're not talking about pole-mounted antennae at this point. We're talking about the need to South Peabody.
Okay, the need is related. What we have does not have very much to do with telephone calls. Telephone usage is actually not growing on mobile devices, it's declining dramatically. Data usage is what's growing. As you look around, as I look at the tables here, you don't have phones in your pocket anymore, you have computers in your pocket. Phones today, I don't know why we even call them phones anymore, are more powerful than laptops were 4 years ago. That draws a lot of data from the network. The network will not be able to support the demand of the residents of the city of Peabody. Now, what we try to do is the best way to address that demand. That demand is the gap. We can't meet the demand. That's where our gap comes from. And we collect that data, and that data is proprietary, and we have it we wouldn't do this just for fun. We don't come out here and say, oh, let's build a tower here today because we feel like building a tower.
Right, and I understand that,
So
but
but I'm getting
my,
to the
my
answer to
question
your
to you is the need for the residents of South Peabody. We're putting a tower in South Peabody, so is that where the need exists? Because in my time, and although albeit brief, I haven't heard any such need. And yet, I look back at the minutes from the previous cell tower proposal, and I see that you had mentions of drop calls, and this is all new. So now it's not a drop call issue. It's just purely an internet 4G broadband issue. Nothing to do with drop calls.
The evaluation of what is a gap and whether the service is good enough or not is not made by a single person's phone. It's actually made by the carriers, and that's federal law, and there's a reason for that. The Telecommunications Act is primarily designed, its first purpose, as enacted by Congress, is to promote competition among the carriers. The federal government wants the exact opposite of what you're saying. They do not want any carrier to say, we're good enough here, let's cut it off, we're done. It's the opposite. What we provide is the most important infrastructure in America today, and the demand is growing hugely. And it's impossible to even deny that. I mean, you look at what was in your pocket 4 years ago, but let me finish.
I'm going to let you finish, but you still haven't answered the question of where the need is in South Peabody. So that's really what I'm looking for.
So I've shown it, and as I explained, it's attachment A in tab 3 of your packet.
Right, and that strictly addresses LTE, but not calling services. So we're talking about broadband in that map. We're not talking about...
We're talking about wireless service, both voice and data.
Okay.
So when you look at it, areas shown in green are areas where the service is acceptable to our standards, and these are our established standards. Areas in orange, yellow, and white are substandard. Now, the ideal place, and this is really pretty easy to understand, if you have an area where you're trying to cover, you put the facility in the middle of it. That's what we proposed. That was 161 Lynn Street. The proposal before you now was the city's idea. This is the place the city wanted it. When we brought this to litigation the first time, I proposed the pole top attachments, and the city said no. That's the only communication I have. Now, I know that the council is working on it, and the mayor is working on it, but the PMLP has that authority, and the only communication I have from the PMLP is no. They said no. We are still receptive to that. I was the one who proposed that. That is the best way to build the infrastructure
and again,
in the future.
I'm sorry, we're getting a little off track. So because I still don't see...
I think we're clarifying what may have
right,
been
and
a misconception among the people who spoke earlier.
So I've done my research, and obviously I'm not privy to engineers and people of that nature. But the best I could do was go to your own website at VerizonWireless.com, and you have a section of that website that you can search for both data coverage and cell coverage in a specific area. So my first step was to type in Massachusetts, at which point I did. And your map of Massachusetts shows completely in red, with the exception, red being excellent service, with the exception of central Massachusetts and the Berkshires. But all of eastern Massachusetts, from 495 out to Boston, is completely covered in red. So I thought that might be a broad, map that they place on there, even though it's a little disingenuous. But so I broke it down further, and I went to, because your site allows this, to go down to the street level. And what I did was I printed out all the streets from Lynn Street, from the Lynn line to Sunset, from Sunset to Martinac, from Martinac to the golf course, and from Lynn Street down Washington into Peabody Square. And each and every street that I typed in was completely red.
We want it better, plain and simple.
There's 100% service, according to your own website. So, in one sense, in two special permit applications, you've dictated a need. And I understand you want better. We all want better. But is there a need? Is it a need to the people, or is it a need for Verizon to be the best provider out there and to be able to tout that at anybody's expense? So, I mean, I'll move on from there. I just wanted to try to get some
Answer the question that
clarification.
you just asked?
I'm sorry?
Do you want me to answer the question you just
Yeah, oh,
asked?
yeah, sure, go ahead.
It is a need for the people. It's a need for the country. This is why the federal government has made the law the way that it did. Our country is very far behind other countries in wireless service. And as I explained, it is the most important infrastructure in America right now. It's the most important way people communicate in America right now. The CDC recently did a study in 2015 that was a follow-up study from one done in 2013. Basically what it shows is that in 2 years, the percentage of American households that use wireless devices only for communication went up by almost 20%. This is something very, very important. So we are not trying to get it just good enough. The federal government wants us to do the exact opposite. We need to be getting better and better and better all the time. We're not trying to be just good enough. And that's what the citizens demand. I know there's a dozen people here who don't want to see the tower. I get it. I do. I do this everywhere. I know how it works. We cannot provide this service in an invisible way. Can't be done. No one's ever done it. We try to come up with the best way. We gave one proposal. We gave a second proposal.
Right,
This is
so
the third proposal.
I fully,
City has to pick one.
fully understand that. And also on our end, and it was the next thing I was going to mention, we as a city have also been very open, and I think we want the same things. We want the best service for our citizens. And I think we've demonstrated that. And herein lies my next question is, we have a tower on Summit Street, an extremely large tower, approved by the city. We have a tower on the water tanks on Bartholomew Street, the Boulder Brook project. There is a Verizon antenna, on that water tower. We also have a third in in Ward 1 alone, I should say, at the Centennial Office Park, and that is on a city-owned water tank. And nowhere in any of this paperwork do I see, I did see that you would...
Attachment C.
Okay, you
Answers your
investigated, right, you investigated Boulder Brook. Did anybody look at the water tanks on the Centennial Office Park? Because there was only one antenna on that. And according to our own zoning, you're required to co-locate if at all possible. And nowhere in any of this paperwork, and I've been looking at this for 2 months, stacks of paperwork, do I see anywhere about looking into the water tanks in Centennial Office Park. That's an extremely high water tank. I recently drove by it, and AT&T was replacing all their equipment on that tank with newer, more modern equipment. And I thought, why hasn't Verizon decided to co-locate at this location?
Shall I
It's
answer the
actually,
question?
go ahead.
Okay. If you look at attachment C, now I don't know exactly where the water tank you're talking about is, but if we can go on a water tank, I guarantee you we'll go on the water tank. Like I said, we don't want to do this. We don't like building towers. We're not in the business of building towers. It's a last resort. So now let's look at attachment C in the information that I submitted. It shows the existing facilities that we have, many of which you described. Now you have a multicolored thing here in your packet. It shows what's being served by each of those facilities, and it's showing the areas that are exhausted, meaning they cannot serve the demand. When you flip to the next page, it shows what our proposal does to relieve that exhaustion in blue. Now, it doesn't have to be that high tech. It's pretty simple. If you have facilities here, here, and here, and they're not doing the job here, this is where you have to put the facility to cover the problem here. It's very common sense. So when you tell me, why don't we go here? Why don't we go here? Yes, it'd be great if we could cover America with cell towers that are located in Mexico and Canada. It doesn't work that
All
way.
right, we're not talking Mexico and Canada. We're talking...
Talking outside of the search ring.
I believe about a half a mile away in the Centennial Office Park, which is in the ward, in the district, a higher location than you're proposing, with a line of sight to both Summit Street and the tower.
Is
and
that
Lynn.
not right near
I mean,
one
well,
of these sites?
have you looked at it? I mean, have you looked at the water? I mean, do you have an engineer here that has actually investigated these? Because in the previous hearing, you had an engineer that came up and spoke and talked about what he investigated and what he looked at. But, and I understand, just like myself, you're an attorney. You're not in the telecommunications field, per se. So that's why I was hoping you would have somebody that could answer some of these questions. This council has a lot of questions that need to be answered. We want to make an educated decision.
I'll answer them right now.
Attorney Sweeney, I ask you, we're not going to be able to keep the record properly if you keep interrupting Councilor Turco. So if you
Okay,
could just withhold your comment until you get
Problem
the
is there's
question.
20 questions asked and I don't get to answer them.
Well, you will get your opportunity to answer. We need to keep the record accurately here, so it's
So
going
I'll
to be
stick
very
with-
difficult to do. So if you can please cooperate with that, that'd be appreciated. Councilor Turco.
Okay, I'll stick with the one question. Do you have an engineer with you?
No, you have his report.
Okay.
Signed and sworn affidavit.
In that report was the Centennial Office Park location investigated to co-locate the antenna.
When you read the report,
I did read the report, and
Okay.
I don't see it.
do you see that it's located anywhere within the vicinity of what we're talking about? Can you point it out to us on the plots? If the water tank that you're talking about is located inside the 3 existing sites, we'll go on that water tank. I would do it in a heartbeat.
Here, in that area.
We know what we're doing, believe it or not. We are the leading wireless provider in this nation.
Here's Linfield Street. Okay. So, a little further up. Okay, so if you're looking at the map, it's actually the Centennial Office Park is in the yellow area. And as you can see, it has a line of sight to both Lynn 5 and Peabody Needham Corner, almost in a triangular motion, which I believe, again, I'm no expert, but I believe would be desirable. You talk about line of sight in several different aspects of your report, and I think that's a perfect line of sight.
Well, my engineer has said differently, so if the city does have an engineer that's going to tell us why it's perfect, love to hear it. My engineer put it on the record.
Right, and we will
Do you know the
investigate
address of that water tank? Because it might be in here. I'm not from Peabody, so I don't know exactly where
It's somewhere
it
in the
is.
vicinity of 10 Centennial Drive. Sorry about
Do you know the street that's on? Like, Centennial Drive sounds to me like more of a small off street. What's the main
It's
street?
It's a street with an address, and you'll see signs right on the street that locate the addresses. So 10
I'll look it
Centennial.
up quickly.
Okay. All right. My next question regarding the height of the tower.
Well,
we
wait,
went- I'm sorry?
Can I determine where that is so I can answer your question?
Yeah, okay.
I don't know where Centennial Drive is. Can you point it out to me on the map that I've provided?
Yeah, I told you, it's in the yellow section. Let me get back to it. Where the hell is it? Looking at the map to the left side of the Needham Corner cell tower, in the yellow past the pond that abuts the railroad tracks, right in that general area.
Okay. So it's very easy to answer the question when I know where it is.
Okay.
If you look at where the gap is, that's not near the gap. That's right near the existing site that we call Needham Corner. If we put a site there, and this is addressed in the report, it's redundant coverage. It doesn't do anything. Putting another site right near one doesn't have any effect. And that's pretty common sense. And as I said,
Well, I mean, it may be common sense, Stuart. I apologize if we're not on the telecommunications field, but it's not common sense to the
Okay.
council. This is why we're asking the questions.
So that is
that
the
we can
answer.
investigate this and do the right thing by the citizens of Peabody and try to get this resolved.
okay,
But
that
you-
is the answer.
Okay,
Now,
thank you.
let me explain to you, because you did ask, did we investigate other sites? When we determine that we have a gap, that the service is not good enough, we establish a search ring. That's done by our radio frequency engineering department. That ring is shown on a map. We look at every single property on that map. First thing we do, we pull out your tax map. We look at every single property within that ring, because that ring is where the engineers have determined a site can remedy our gap. In that ring, which I've shown you on attachment A, this is in the area where we have orange, yellow, and white. There are only residential structures, one church, Michael's Limousine. That's it. Now, what we did before, we did look at the church, and this testimony is in the record of 161 Lynn Street. Can't do anything in the church. The church is open like this. There's nowhere to put equipment inside, just like you couldn't do it here. It would be hanging from the ceiling. Michael's Limousine had an existing pole there with an antenna on it. Not a big site. We were proposing to do 10 feet taller than that. I get it. It wasn't that appealing.
Okay, and again, I don't want to
But so
keep
I'm
interrupting you
answering
either,
your
but
question as to the other-
you're going off into a tangent that I would like
I'm telling you
to.
the other sites we looked at because that's the question asked.
Right, no, I understand that, but we already know about the Michael's Limousine site because you addressed it at the
Okay,
beginning.
so I've told you the sites. Every
So-
single house, which we
Okay.
rule out right away because we don't put these on houses, we looked at the church and Michael's Limousine.
Right.
That's every single site within the area that can address this gap. That's all of them. There's none left. So when that was denied, we sat down with the city and said, where's a good place for it? And the city said, over in this area, by the water plant, by the golf course. That's not ideal. As you can see, it's pretty far away. It also gives us a lot of coverage in an area that doesn't need coverage because it's conservation land where there are no people. So it's not ideal for us. It's the most expensive way for us, without a doubt. We don't want to do it this way. The city has made us do it this way. So when people are coming and saying that, this is the best for us and it benefits us, no, it doesn't. This is the worst way. We don't want this way. The city asked us to do it this way.
Thank you for that. So we went to 130 feet from the original 60-foot antenna, and that was because we changed the location. And the fact that at this new location, the elevation, I can't find your elevation map.
I can answer that question a little better too and clarify because that's not the only reason.
Did I ask?
Well, I wanted to clarify what you said. It's
Oh,
not-
okay. Go
the
right ahead.
distance is not the only reason it's 130 feet. We had informed the city that we could probably accomplish this with 110 feet. However, being in this business, we know that probably nobody else is going to be able to use the space under us. That's fine. We don't care. But the city does want to generate revenue off this, and if you want other carriers to come on it, it needs to be 130 feet. That's why the request for proposal specified 130 feet, so that it could generate revenue for the city. It's of no benefit to my client whatsoever. I would build it at 110 feet tomorrow, and I'd be happy with it because that's what we need to provide service. We're not in the business of making money off towers. We don't do that. That's not what we do. We provide service and we sell service. That's our business. But the city would be the one making money from this tower. So we did that for the city, not for us.
My next question is actually regarding that, since you're willing to go down to 110 feet. So I had a local engineer, just a friend in the neighborhood, actually draw up a little back of the napkin sketch on what this was going to be from, and I used pumping station. So according to his calculations, the trees in the area are roughly 40 feet high. Anything that is 60 feet or higher would be visible to the residents of that section of South Peabody, the South Peabody Trail, the golf course in the surrounding neighborhood. So that would leave roughly 70 feet of the tower. If you go down to 110, it would be 50 feet of the tower would be visible to that area. Can it be brought down to the original height? Because it's twofold, and I know you've addressed the zoning issue, but the Peabody zoning states that no tower could be over 50 feet high. And you originally, in the original proposal, it was a 10-foot difference that you were looking for a variance on. And in this proposal, obviously you're looking for a 70-foot difference in the variance. So can this be at 60 feet and not completely visible to the neighborhood?
No, and we went over it we went over this with the city at length before the city came up with this proposal. And as I just said, the minimum we can address this gap with is 110 feet. And as you see, the very last exhibit of that report shows the contours of the land. But again, this is pretty simple, but I'll explain it because, yes, maybe it may be more simple to me because I've been doing this for many years. When you have to reach an area here and you put something here, pretty easy to reach it. When you move that out here, there's trees, there's buildings, there's contours of land. You can't reach it. You have to go up higher to get down there. It's just geometry. We did go over this. We would want to make it as small as we want. Like I said, We're not in the tower business. I have no interest in making this bigger than it needs to be. All we want to do is provide the service, and if there's a better way, we will do it. We have no benefit to making this taller, no benefit from making this taller than it needs to be. Nothing. No benefit to us. The only benefit is to the city.
So this is the minimal design, shape, and height to address the gap in service that you had previously addressed
From
with
this location,
the
yes.
60-foot site. And it serves the same purposes. The 60-foot tower at 161 Lynn Street was going to solve an issue for you. This 130-foot tower, does it expand on, I mean, since you saw an opportunity where the city sent out an RFP for this, did you say, well, let's make it even larger so that we can cover a larger area of Peabody, Salem, Lynn, Beverly?
No.
Or did you just stick to the services that you needed, which you had described in your previous application as minor gaps in coverage?
It's, that area is the one we focused on addressing. Obviously, you do get a benefit in other areas, and as I said earlier, you get a benefit in an area that is conservation land. Yeah, we waste our money doing that because that's the spot the city wanted. Like I said, this is an expensive site, not an ideal site. I don't want to do it this way. This is wasteful. It creates coverage in areas that don't need coverage, but it addresses the gap. And this is the only way we could address the gap from the property that the city wanted us to do it from. The other alternative were the other ones that I discussed tonight.
Thank you. The other issue that you didn't address that I just wanted to go over in case it comes up at some point was the proximity to the golf course because it's another zoning issue, and I don't think you brought it up in the application unless I missed it. Section 7.96B, Roman numeral 2 of Peabody zoning says that the base of every WCI wireless communication facility shall be at least 500 feet from any residence, wetland, historic district, school, playground, or recreation center, medical facility, or nursing home. So do you plan on filing for a variance for its proximity to the golf course? Because what we did see is that that's well within the 500-foot area of, I believe, the 17th hole of the golf course.
What are you deeming the golf course to be in that list of things that need to be
A recreational center.
The golf course is a recreational center under the definitions in your ordinance?
I would believe a recreational center, yeah.
Does anyone have a copy of the ordinance?
Do I
17th
have?
hole's the
I
recreational
don't have a
center.
copy with me, maybe.
Well, we can take that up. I have no intention
Yeah.
of
It's
filing a
online,
variance for that.
you know.
I don't see that as being defined as a recreational center. And again, we get into an area of federal law which preempts local law. The bottom line is, if there is a provision in your ordinance that says you can't put it here, you can't put it here, you can't put it here, if here is the only place I can do it to provide coverage, then your ordinance is prohibiting wireless service. That's preempted and prohibited by federal law. So we get back to the same discussion that we've been having, which is we have a gap. We want to address it in the best possible way. And honestly, the ordinance doesn't matter at that point. We have to address it in the best possible way. And we had 4 options we proposed to the city. This is the one the city said, yes, do this. You have records from the city council approving the RFP. If one of the other options was better, I would have done that. Like I said, we're not married to this option. I don't care. We're not in the business of building towers or building facilities. We're in the business of providing coverage, and I'll do it however the city wants to do it. I gave the city the 4 ways we can think of to do it, and we do this all over the country, so we're pretty good at it. We took the city's input. We talked about this with your engineering department for the last year and a half. This is the spot chosen
Okay.
by the city.
Right. So, also in regards to this tower, and you mentioned that the federal law preempts local zoning, and that's why I mentioned those other 3 sites just in South Peabody, and some of the other ward councilors or some that have been around longer than I might know where the other towers are in Peabody. I don't think that this city has ever been known as anti-cell tower at all. I think they're very pro-technology. And that's, you and I have discussed on the phone actually, which leads me to the DAS system. And for the benefit of the rest of the council, DAS stands for Distributed Antenna System. And what that is, as far as I could tell through looking at it, is a small array of antennas. The most recent one that I'm aware of was recently done in Lynn. In lieu of a cell tower, and sometimes they work in conjunction with a cell tower. Tell me when I'm wrong, Chris, and you can interrupt me on this. Those antennas are placed on the top of telephone poles. Many of the larger electric utility companies have already allowed use of their poles, but municipal light plants fall under a different category. They don't necessarily have to approve it if they don't deem it necessary or beneficial to their primary service of providing electricity to their clients, and I understand that. So we've had some talks, and if you could kind of update me on where we are with that, about the DAS. So the DAS is that small group of antennas. They range in height from 12 to 18 inches high. They go at the top of a telephone pole. For the best example I can give the council is 80 of those antennas covered the entire city of Lynn. And that was through, I reached out to the Lynn City Council, and they approved 80. They may approve another 20, but 80 covered the entire city without the need for a cell tower. There is a base station that it needs to go back to, which is just a small building structure that it goes back to, and that can hold multiple carriers, up to 5, which is in our zoning as a requirement. So when I first saw that, and I saw that because of your initial application, and you were very kind enough to go over it with me, I was excited about it. So I did bring that to the attention of the mayor as well as some other councilors, and I understand that the light plant is looking at it, from what I understand. I did ask you a question. I'm going to give you a second to answer that in 1 second. The light plant is looking at it, and I understand they need to be very thorough before they allow any usage on their poles, because again, their primary function is to provide electricity to the people of Peabody. They don't care about, I don't want to say they don't care, it's not their priority to worry about antennas other than what their primary function is. So now, again, can you tell us where we are with that?
Right. We had proposed a system similar to that. What you describe as DAS, and I think what you had in mind, what I discovered in our conversation the other day, is a multi-carrier system. Those do exist. Those are put up by companies that are in the business of putting that system in place. If you had one, we'd go on it. We're not in the business of putting those systems in place, but we are trying to deploy something very similar. Aesthetically, it looks exactly the same, but it's our antennas. We're not providing it for our competitors, and no one would want us to. We're competing. That's the whole point of the Telecommunications Act. We're not out there. We're not supposed to be building the network for everybody. So what we're trying to do is a little bit different, and we are doing this in all the cities all over Massachusetts. The ones that we have difficulty in are the ones with municipal light plants. Now, the description of the law that you gave is fairly accurate. How this works: when you own telephone poles in the city, you necessarily have a monopoly. There's nobody else who can come in and bring electricity, cable, or telephone to the city, because nobody else can put up a whole string of telephone poles all over the city again. So the federal government and Massachusetts and every other state in America passed laws saying, if you own the poles, you've got to make it available for other utility providers. We are a utility provider. It's been deemed that we are a utility provider, probably the most important utility. Now, the difference is in Chapter 166, Section 22A, I believe. Right at the last sentence of the first paragraph, it says, none of this applies to municipal light plants. So light plants don't have to do anything, and they don't. They have no motivation to do anything. Under federal law, we pay a regulated rate for usage of the poles, the same way the telephone company does, the same way the cable company does. it's necessarily low because you have to use all of the poles. It's dollars. Usually they're under $20 a year per pole. We offer a lot more to light plants. I don't know that we have to go into the numbers here. If you ask me them, I'll tell you them, but I don't care. Suffice it to say, what we offer cities like Peabody is almost 1,000% of what we pay NSTAR or National Grid. It's still not huge money, just the same. I wouldn't want anyone to think anyone's going to get rich off it. It's not. You get rich off of the infrastructure you get. It's important, and this is the future. This is the way to provide 5G. These pole top attachments are the best thing. All the discussions I said, I'm happy to do it, and I know we don't want to go there, but this is the explanation for the question. It works. It's great. I want to do it. I proposed it a year ago. The light plant, as we described, has no obligation to even take my call. They said no. Now I know that everyone in the city is working very, very hard to make that happen, and I'm receptive to that. We have to move forward with what we have because we've been burned twice by the city, thinking we had a deal after spending a lot of time and money working on a deal, and then at the last second the city says no. So we are moving forward, and I'm not spending a lot of money and effort anymore on the pole top attachment because the city said no. But as I told the mayor, and as I told you, Mr. Turco, if I hear that the PMLP is ready to go on that, and I mean ready to go, not, okay, we're thinking about it and we're going to dance around it for another year and then say no.
Well,
if they're ready to go,
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you there because I don't think the
Councilor-
PMLP
Councilor
has been
Turco.
dancing. My apologies. I don't think that the PMLP has been dancing around. I think that they need to investigate just like we do. And what effect this may have on it's new to all of us, okay? So you say that you presented this DAS and you got a no.
Not DAS.
Okay, but you had presented DAS in the last application. That's what you originally called the light plant on last year, is DAS in 2014. In your application, it actually says that
It's not what's called neutral host DAS, which is what we talked about, which provides a system for everybody.
Yeah.
It's not that. And we talked about this.
right. So you, but in your application, it says that you were refused DAS. You actually just said it in your statement that you called the light plant. You were unequivocally told no on the DAS system in 2014. But then yesterday, when we spoke about this new system, this CRAN, and it sounded great. I mean, via your explanation. But I guess my question is twofold. Did either system go before the Board of Light Commissioners, which is the body that makes that decision?
Nope.
Because they're the only ones that could tell you no. So at no point did Verizon bring either of these options, CRAN or DAS, to the Light Commission?
It doesn't go directly to the Light Commission. It has to go through the general manager who can put it on the agenda for
Right.
the Light Commission. I don't think it's called the Light Commission. Maybe you would know better than me.
Light Board?
Whatever it is, has to go through the general manager first. He said no. We had the email. I talked about this with the city solicitor for a long, long time. I have an email from him from Friday and from this morning. Can we meet to talk about it? We're
It's-
trying to meet.
Well, yeah, and again, since then, there's been no further discussion about getting this toward the Light Commission. I think we've made some inroads, but have you personally had any recent conversations? Anything that we should know about?
Nope. We have been trying to set up a meeting with the general manager of the light plant. But again, remember, I pushed this and provided everything a while ago, and I'm not going to go that route anymore. I'm not going to delay. I'm going to play fair, and I'm going to have a receptive ear, and I will listen to what the city wants to do. And if the city says yes to that before whatever happens with our litigation, I'm all for it. But I can't stop now because, like I said, we've been
No,
burned twice
and
before.
again, nobody's asking you to stop.
So we are doing that. So on Friday, the general manager said, can you meet on Monday or Tuesday? And it was about 4 o'clock on a Friday. My people are all over the country. I couldn't pull those people together in that short of time. So I said to him on Wednesday night, how about you and I meet Thursday at 11? I didn't get a response to that till later. I got a message from the mayor saying, call the mayor at 11. I called the mayor wasn't in at 11. I left a message. I don't know what else I can do. We're trying to set it up. We're not delaying. I'm getting back to people who call me within 24 business hours every time, maybe a little more if I'm really busy. I'm willing to listen. We want to do that. But the city is the one who's going to have to do it fast at this point, because I let it go for a long, long time, and I got burned. Because at the last minute, after working with the city for over a year, and it wasn't just on the light plan proposal, it was on anything we could do to settle this. We worked it for more than a year, and at the last second, I mean, you can ask your city solicitor, this is how we had to portray it to the judge at our last pretrial conference. This was unexpected, and now the city's going to say no to what we thought was the solution all along. So I'm going to keep listening, but I'm going to keep moving forward on the litigation that we have, and I think that's fair. I think anybody in my position would have to do that. I think we've been really more than fair in terms of how much time we've let go by without moving forward on the litigation. It's been a year and a half where we literally, we would have a pretrial conference every month and say, yep, still working on it, Judge. Still working on it, Judge.
Right, and you know, in all honesty, we as a city are working on it too. There's just some new information that was brought to us that we were unaware of, the CRAN system being one.
But the difference between what we're, okay, so DAS, as we know, stands for Distributed Antenna System. Antennas distributed around.
Right.
Call it what you will.
Because
CRAN,
it's two totally different topics. CRAN, you told me that yesterday. It's not the.
It's different systems.
Councilor Turco, we just need to let him answer the question, please. Thank you.
Okay.
They are different, but from the city's perspective, I don't know that the difference matters. The difference is in how the data travels back to the switch, the processing center. I don't think the city cares about that, but we shouldn't get hung up on the terms. We should state the facts as they are. We cannot do a pole top antenna system that is going to work for all of our competitors. We can do one that is going to work for us and provide an excellent service to the city in the future. And I'm not worried about my competitors, and I'm not gonna be, and the federal law specifically encourages me not to be, wants me to compete with them. So that's the only difference between the new information, is that I think the city thought we were doing something that would work for everybody, and I apologize if I didn't make that clear. It is what it is, but I don't see that it changes that much. You know, you had mentioned that the light plant may be concerned that there's going to be one of these on every telephone pole, and my response to you is, why wouldn't we want that? That's probably the best thing we could have. That's the way infrastructure works. That's what you have now. What we're proposing, by the way, so everyone knows, is an antenna this big, 24 inches tall, 15 inches diameter, specifically designed to look like a transformer. We have some up in Amesbury right now. When we first started doing this, it's very new, started this in January. Many boards, all in the same area as we are now, asked me, can I see the ones that you've installed so far? It's new. We don't have too many up. We have a lot permitted, like literally hundreds, and that's all in the last month. We have some up in Amesbury. So I remember I was in North Andover the other night. We're doing about 30 of them there. And, you know, they had asked earlier, where are they in Amesbury? We gave the addresses. Board said they went, couldn't find them. You can't see them. It's good. It's the best way to do this. Like I said, we can't provide this service in a way that is invisible, but it's pretty close. These things are hiding in plain sight. If I point it out to you and tell you it's there, you'll see it, but if it's not pointed out to you, you won't. So to get back to what we're talking about, what we're proposing is good. I know the city now thinks it's good too. I've left it up to the city to get the light plan on board. We have a little time while we're in litigation to make that happen. I am not closing the door to that at all. I'm willing to do that. That is the preferable option for my client. We want to do it. The city can make it happen and get the PMLP on board, we're doing it. If not, we're choosing between this and Lynn Street. The timeframes you can ask your city solicitor about.
Okay, Mr. President, through you, I'd like to defer to Councilor Manning for a couple of questions, and then she's going to come back to me.
I have Councilor Gould first, please.
Thank you, Councilor Gould.
Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I just, for the record, if this case is going to go to litigation as well, I just want to make sure that the facts are, that we stick to the facts as they are, as this gentleman has pointed out. He had mentioned, because the record of this dialogue will go to court with this petition. It won't be with the other judge, with the other petition, it'll be a new judge, and this information. So the record of things stated here will need to be accurate. And the petitioner mentioned that tonight, that they went to the church, and that was a viable option, and they looked at the church. They didn't, and that's in the records. Councilor Turco brought the minutes of that prior meeting of Michael's Limousine. It's confirmed in those minutes that they did not approach the church, and they did not, it wasn't even feasible, and they don't even like dealing with churches on a national level. So that's not accurate for the record. This evening, should this case go forward, they didn't approach the church with the Michael's Limousine cell tower. And next, one other point. I think it was the existing structure. I think in referencing this evening Michael's Limousine's solar cell tower, they spoke about putting the antenna on top of the existing pole. That was not discussed either. It was removing that existing pole and erecting a separate new cell tower. So those 2 points that are pointed out this evening for the record, should we go to litigation, are not accurate. And if the records of the initial meeting of August 2014 will back that up. So those are just my points for this evening.
I'd like to
Thank you.
clarify a couple things there, just for the record, while we're talking about the record. We did not approach the church. I don't think that I
Right.
said that.
I thought you said this evening that you did, and
We
that
considered the church as an alternative, just as we considered every home in that area as alternative. We ruled out the church because it does not have, you have to think of it as, equipment has to be inside. When we put these in church steeples, it's hidden in the steeple. That church, when you go inside it, has an open ceiling like this. There is no room to put it. We did not approach the church. Now, when
you never went in the church. You said when you go in
I
that.
personally didn't. The gentleman who was with me on the record said he went in the church, and that was a different case, so it doesn't
No,
matter.
he didn't. He didn't go in
Okay.
the church.
So now let me explain to you how the law works.
Because he says in here he didn't go in the church. So let's stick to the facts as we know.
Whatever it says in there. Let me give you a recent case from federal court in Massachusetts that will explain to you how the analysis works. It's Industrial Tower v. Falmouth. It's from 2015. It does a very, very good job of explaining how this alternative site analysis works. It's not about calling people. We know how to evaluate sites. We don't call every single site in the search ring. We didn't call any of the homeowners. We didn't go inside any of the homes. We didn't. We considered them. We looked at every single property to find the way to do it. So I wanted to clarify that. If you're talking about going to litigation, I guess there might be some sort of conclusion here that a denial is forthcoming, and that's fine. I would suggest, and I'm sure you will, speak with your city solicitor about that. And if that's what we're going to do, we should do it. We should. We shouldn't waste time.
Point of order. I have an absolutely open mind to where this cell tower will go in order to provide this provider the opportunity to service his customers as federal law mandates. Absolutely open mind. My points, and I'll reiterate, was simply to correct the record of things he was stating as fact this evening. I've got a completely open mind of where this tower should go. And I know that from the get-go, when we started to discuss this matter back in August of 2014, it was these counselors who offered up site after site after site for this company to explore because they had not done their due diligence. They wanted it at one site, and they didn't do their homework. So this council is open to working with you, and I think that we should reach out to the PMLP, this council, and it's unfortunate that the city solicitor is not here tonight to ask us if that has been done or what the talks are with that, but I'm absolutely open to working with this petitioner and I know that the council is as well, and I'd like to continue to work with the option with PMLP to put those antennas on top of the poles, because if it is an option, and it's the least obtrusive option, but yet a feasible one, then we should work together to try and provide that. And I'd be absolutely open to working with PMLP and this petitioner to make that happen. So I don't want anyone to put into the record that there's a foregone conclusion that we're denying this, because that's not the case. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Councilor Gould, Councilor Turco, would you mind shutting off your mic? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilor Turco, you did an outstanding job. You answered a lot of questions for us. Had a lot of questions answered. Thank you, Mr. Swiniarski. Mr. Swiniarski, when you zeroed in on the Michael's Limousine site, did you approach Michael's Limousine, or did they approach you to offer their property? Do you recall?
Our consultant approached Michael's Limousine.
Okay. And of course, Mike.
Here tonight if you want to talk to him.
And
I don't
of course.
know if he's still paying attention. It's been a while. But
Excuse me?
he's in the crowd. You need to ask him.
And of course, Michael's Limousine took the offer because it was a financial. Michael doesn't live there, but the neighbors on Welcome Street, Lynn Street, MacArthur Circle, all opposed that because it didn't work for that neighborhood. So the alternative site, and you say you keep referring to your city has given us alternative sites, and you have stated that it is the city solicitor. Well, this is the opportunity for our people, our residents, to speak in opposition or favor for that cell tower. And you to, frankly, your arrogance and your take it or leave it attitude is very, very offensive, sir. And I don't know, you certainly are representing your company, but Verizon's been such a great partner here in the city by bringing high-speed internet and Fios, so we're just going to bend over backwards to help you, Mr. Swiniarski. So this, for you to say that there are 12 people that showed up tonight to oppose this, and being sarcastic with your number, you said there were 12 people that showed up tonight and scanned the room and pointed at people. There are hundreds of people that would be offended by this cell tower in that neighborhood. I was there for the balloon raising that day on a cold, windy day. You can see it from the 17th green, like I could look at that balcony. It was that close. It must have been 40 to 50 feet away. And you think nothing of that. You think that that is not offensive at all. I stood on Lynn Street at the Conway Funeral Home. Now, none of these mean anything to you, I'm sure. But in a neighborhood, I looked directly through the Conway Funeral Home parking lot and again saw that balloon 30 to 40 feet above, 50 to 60 feet above any treetop. And that's why these people are here to oppose that, because it is offensive to their neighborhood. And Mr. Swiniarski, you're not going to tell us where we're going to put this cell tower. You can threaten us to go to court again and take us to court. We've been sued many times, sir. But this is a neighborhood where you're planning on, Verizon's planning on putting this, and it is very offensive. Thank you.
Okay. So let me address that and answer the questions you raised. I can imagine that this does not look good from that neighborhood. I think I've been saying that all along. And I did say that the city chose this. And if we're going to not admit that, I think we just need to check the record. I think there was a vote taken to issue that request for proposals. I assume that happened, right?
Can I respond to that?
Yeah.
That was in an executive session that we are not able to talk about, so we will not discuss that.
Sorry, that's the way it was done. I don't have control over that. I can only take what you give me, really. I mean, we're playing fair, and I'm not trying to be insulting to anybody.
Well, you are, but none of us ever thought that it would be as intrusive in their neighborhood until we got to see the balloon float, and it was, I was shocked. You weren't there, right, sir?
Nope.
No. Do you live in Peabody, sir?
No.
Okay. Do you know where we're talking? Do you even know the area, other than on
Who's
your...
trying to be offensive now? I had to work on this for a year. I know exactly where it is.
Do you? You've been on site? You've walked up on the
Yes.
site? Okay. I apologize for being, if you took it as offensive.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Councilor Charis.
Thank you, Chairman. You talk about these, the antennas, sir, through the chair, to the council. You spoke, I wasn't here the last time we talked about this, so all this is new to me. So if you bear with me, I'm not trying to be sarcastic or ignorant. I just don't know, okay? When you talk about these rings of tower, rings of antenna that you put on the telephone pole, correct? How many of those would you need to make the coverage, to cover that coverage?
Well, it's proposed as a different solution. To cover one particular small area, it may not take that many, maybe 3, maybe 4. But you cannot just put those up as a cell tower replacement. It doesn't work that way. That's an entirely different network. So in the future, we're going to need to keep building that because that's going to be the network that we run off of. So it's not putting up 3 of those to cover this one little spot. We can't do that because we have to build a whole network around it, literally fiber optic cable that runs all over the Commonwealth. So you can't do that to cover one little area. It's an entire network. That's what we're rolling out all over the Commonwealth right now. Every town is getting it except towns that have municipal light plants.
So when you talk about putting them on the municipal light poles, you're talking every pole through the city?
No, not every pole, but many, for sure.
How many?
Right now, the cities that have the most that I'm aware of are getting about 60. So we're trying to do almost 60 in North Andover. I think Lawrence, and I didn't do any of the work in Lawrence, I think in the high 40s. And those are spread out because that technology is different. And I'll go into that a little bit, even though it's not the subject of this, because it's actually fascinating. I think you'll see the value in it. That technology allows us to take the existing network and service that demand for service that I was talking about. We can, if we have a pocket of very, very high demand, say at a strip mall or a sports arena, or regular malls, or a lot of places they've gone lately, we can put one of these right there and cover the demand in that particular area without building a tower that covers the areas that we may not need to service a very pinpointed demand. So that will necessarily change in the future. If something happens in Peabody, that changes the demand. If a strip mall is built where there is nothing today, we probably want to put an antenna there to give the service to the people going to that strip mall. So, you know, for now, I don't know exactly what that network would look like, but it would have to be for the whole city because the way that's designed is it's fluid and flexible. It changes as the demand by the residents changes.
So you're saying if you were going to be able to use the telephone poles to put this ring of antenna, you would have to go throughout the whole city?
Eventually, where there's demand. So if there's a spot in the city where there's no people, like conservation area, but there may be telephone poles, it's not going to go there. It's going to be where there's dense population using devices. And there are places where devices are used more than...
And you're saying you can't use it in one area as a supplemental?
No, because it's an entire network. It doesn't just tap into what we have now. It's not a mini cell tower. It's a different network.
Well, that's the first... I may be not listening very well. I believe I am. But you never once said that tonight, that you would need to use those rings throughout the whole city. I was leading to believe that you would need the telephone poles in that particular area.
No, that's not what we've discussed at all. But
Tonight?
then again, that's not the subject
I'm sorry,
of
tonight,
tonight's
sir?
application. Yeah.
Tonight? Okay, I was misunderstanding.
Not tonight, no. We're discussing a different application tonight. Like I said, I'll answer any questions about that, as I'm doing now. That doesn't work. We don't just put 5 of these little canisters in the spot on Lynn Street. Believe me, if we could, we would. That would be great. Like I said, I don't like doing this. We have no interest in doing this. We're just trying to provide the service. There's no benefit to me of not doing it that way. If there was a way to do it, of course, we would have done it in a heartbeat.
Okay.
We wouldn't have wasted a year and a half.
Just so I understand, you can't use these antennas unless you do it throughout the whole city because it's a total different network.
It's a total different network. we don't cover the whole city at once. So if we get this agreement in place, it's not as if we're gonna roll out 100 of these in Peabody on every block. It doesn't work that way. And I'm not saying that that is necessarily the alternative to cover this particular spot on Lynn Street and nothing else. This is an alternative for everything. This is new technology. It's different. And in my discussions with the city, I said we would do this in lieu of what we're proposing for Lynn Street.
And again, just one other question. Was the antennas that you have in the 3 other locations in that part of the city, can they be boosted up to make up that difference?
No.
There was no way to do an amp for it or any booster system, nothing
No.
else?
There's no way to amplify that. It's an antenna running at its maximum. You can't do any more to it. You have to start spreading where the antennas are.
I
You
just
can't-
don't-
like I had said before, you can't just put another cell tower right next to an existing cell tower and cure an increase in demand. It doesn't work that way. You have to put it pretty much in the center of the existing ones that have overloaded capacity. And I don't mean right in the center. Sometimes there are things that change that. You know, if there's 3 towers, one here, one here, one here, and there's a hot spot of demand right here, maybe it's a school. Schools actually have an extraordinary demand. That might be the place to put the solution because that's where the gap is. It's not always right in the center, but invariably, if it's 3 towers like this and there's too much demand where they're serving, naturally it has to be something inside those towers. You can't put something out here to service demand in here.
So it's not like the boosters, again, for lack of a better word, they have throughout the tunnels to carry that service.
No, that's a repeater. That doesn't increase any performance or any capacity of the network. That just grabs the signal from outside and moves it into the tunnel.
And I appreciate it, but only one last comment. I know when you're saying that, you know, this is communications and technology, and some of my other counselors may disagree with me, makes a better world. Well, I gotta tell you, when I see kids and adults side by side texting each other, because that's the communication of where we're going, to me, it doesn't make a better world.
It
So
doesn't.
I just let you know that sometimes too much is too much.
Yeah, this isn't the way that wireless communication is going. It's not only about these devices. Everything will be on this. I mean, your
And that's
therm-
what makes me afraid.
But think about this, because there are, I mean, we have no idea what people will think of in the future, but right now cars are coming out with this service, okay? Thermostats in your house. There will be sensors in your refrigerator that will be linked in, so everything will be monitored. You'll be able to know what's going on at your house when you're not there. We're already starting it. You know, you can open your garage doors or turn on your lights before you get home. There are a million things that nobody's thought of. So it's not just about these devices. It really, the vision that people have and that the government has in enacting federal legislation is that everything will be linked wirelessly. There won't be phone lines going anywhere. There probably won't be cable lines going anywhere. I don't know that for sure, so I mean, you can't quote me on that. I can't predict that, but that's the vision. It's not just about these devices. It's not to make people text each other while they're sitting next to each other. Yeah, I think most people would agree that's kind of repugnant. I would not argue.
All set, Councilor Sharris. Thank you. Councilor Sinowitz.
Thank you, Mr. President. So just through you to the attorney. So the technology on a cell phone tower is not compatible with the DAS or the CRAN system?
Not compatible, no. It's not as if it's another cell tower. You will be able to hand off from one to the other, obviously. So if you are traveling and being covered by a cell tower, let's say, and you go into a zone where the network is covered by this CRAN system, sure, it is compatible in that respect. But we cannot simply take a few of these small CRAN antennas and plug them in and turn them into a mini cell tower.
Okay. So, I mean, I think this council is a little at a disadvantage tonight because our city solicitor isn't here. There was a lot said That's your opinion. I don't know what his opinion is. I don't know where he is. I don't know if the assistant city solicitor is here. I don't know if the assistant to the city, we have 3 attorneys and not one here, so it really puts us at a disadvantage knowing what actually happened. But you're saying you're going to proceed to court no matter what happens here. Okay, whether it's, well, if it's approved, you're not going to. If it's denied, you're going to proceed to court.
I can be very candid with you about the timelines, but I would want you to
I get it.
confirm them.
I heard you loud and clear.
But,
So,
no, I'll explain to you because it's not as bad as it seems. So, but go ahead, continue. And I'll-
Well, could we get that answer, Council Simmons? Would that, if you don't mind? Yep.
Yeah, it's very simple. Where we stand with litigation for 161 Lynn Street is we're at the point where we'll be filing a motion for summary judgment. We can do that anytime. That's the next step. The ball's in our court. Now, where we stand with tonight's proceedings, as you all know, I mean, you know how state law works on special permits. 90 days. That's what you have from tonight, 90 days. Will we file that motion for summary judgment in that 90 days? Of course we will. We will. Will it be ruled upon and decided within 90 days? Well, I can't tell you for sure, but courts don't move that fast, so no, I doubt it. So if you're thinking, how much time do we have? Are you thinking, you know, is Chris Swiniarski telling you decide tonight or go to court? That's not what I'm saying. That's not the timeline we have. I would encourage you to consult with the city solicitor about that, but that's my take on it. You're not in a take it or leave it position tonight, not at all. You are in a take it or leave it position eventually, but not tonight.
So to me, whatever happens here tonight, I would think for the residents of the city, it's imperative that we move forward and get some agreement with our electric light company to get that system in place, because we're going to be at the mercy every time. This is in Ward 1, Ward 2, Ward 3, 4. It's going to happen over and over again. But you know, you may think you're in a position of advantage, but if you proceed to court and you win and you're going to put a cell tower here or there, and we move forward with the DAS system, you're going to sign a 15-year lease for a cell phone tower in one section of this tiny city and not participate in the DAS system and pay $30,000 or whatever you were? It doesn't sound...
I doubt that. I think we would do both.
You would do both. And what does that gain you? What does that gain you? Because if 80 antennas covers the city of Lynn, why would you want to get logged into a lease for 15 years? So I'm just saying, to me, you know, it would seem that, you know, and I get it. You've been drawn out.
When you're done.
You've been drawn out. You've been drawn out. But you're going to go forward. You're going to go to court. You're going to get a summary judgment. And God willing, we get that DAS system going. You don't need the cell tower.
I'll be your first customer.
Okay. So, I mean, it's pretty clear what we need to do, or we need some cooperation and work with the light plant to get this done, and to save other neighborhoods, just not these neighborhoods, this neighborhood. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Sinowitz. Councilor Gravel.
Thank you, Council President. I have sat here kind of patiently listening, and I guess what I heard originally was, you know, no deference to you in terms of your testimony here. I basically did hear you got to make a choice. It's A or B. And I wanted to make sure that, for the record, that you understood that I, as one counselor, and I know many others, received a communication about an assumption that, and I don't know how it was made, but it was an assumption that we had already decided we weren't going to rule in favor of the petition that's presented to us tonight. I don't know how that was made by a judge or anybody else in terms of what was said by somebody, but I can honestly say to you, as one counselor here this evening, that I received a notice of a public hearing. I sat through the Michaels limousine hearing and sat through the desire to change that location, and rightfully so, a tower in the middle of a neighborhood. and never once said nor intonated to anybody, I wouldn't have an open mind as to where these types of things would be put, as long as they try to live in harmony with what the neighbors have. So, for the record, this counselor never came here with a predisposed position, never came here to listen to anything other than the special permit continued hearing that was before us. And I don't know why that conclusion was drawn or who was speaking on my behalf, but they don't represent me. I am one individual, one vote on this council, and that's how I came here. Tonight was the first time, and by the way, my field is technology. This is the first time I had heard about the DAS system and the ability to use the polls. I don't, other than what you've just told me tonight, I had no privy, no knowledge, no understanding of what an alternative was that was being presented to us, nor did I have any understanding of the difficulties that you were facing getting through to discuss it. But I think reasonable things prevailing, I would expect that this would be something that we would want to discuss and understand, and whether it's in one area or citywide. I understand the need for wireless communications. And it's much more than, I agree with you, it's much more than a cell phone and convenience of an internet in your house. The Internet of Things is with us at this point in time. And everything runs on that wireless band. Things that we don't even understand today run on that wireless band. So I get it, but I did not get the idea that there was an alternative. I thought, and as I heard from you when you started, it's either A or B. And I think we should discuss C, which is a pole-based alternative, and find out why the light plant would or would not contemplate these things before, anyone rushes to judgment and says, well, these people have, stones in their head and they don't want to even listen to us on what might be a reasonable, non-offensive situation for all of the neighborhoods. Because I agree with Councilor Sinowitz. I absolutely agree with him. If it's this tower today, it's going to be the tower up on Lowell Street in a couple of months, the one across from the farm, and then because you're filling in the spaces. I get it. So I just want you to understand that was not a universal, and I don't know how it got communicated, but it was not a universal perspective of everybody here that we were immediately drawn to the conclusion that we weren't going to listen to anything. And I'm glad that somebody is at least presenting an alternative that I consider to be probably the easiest alternative for the city. As a matter of fact, the first time I saw this, where we're going to make money on a tower, I didn't even know that was involved. I have to thank my fellow counselor for handing me what is the provisions of the RFP and the lease. Maybe shame on me for not seeing it, but I was quite surprised that, that there was money involved in this from the perspective of the city. I do know that when you put up cell towers, you pay people money. But in the same vein, I can't tell you that I understood that that's what we were getting out of the deal on Coolidge, and not that that would sway me. But ultimately, I think if there is this other alternative, why can't we explore it? And why can't we push that forward? We have, as you say, 90 days. We should take advantage of that opportunity. And then, if we can't come to a conclusion, fine, let it go. But why start in a position where we can't come to a resolution? Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gravel. Other councilors? We have a couple of administrative issues here. We've got some late communications that were on your desk from the clerk. A communication from Attorney Swiniarski dated May 24, 2016.
Motion to receive.
You heard the motion from Councilor Gould to receive a late communication. Any objections to that? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. We have a second late communication from the Director of the Health and Human Services Department.
Motion to receive.
You heard the motion. Any objections to the late receipt? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. That was the communication from... I'm sorry, that is not, okay, that was a mistake on my part. That has to do with another application.
Take back the motion, Mr. President.
Thank you, that motion's withdrawn. Thank you, Councilor Gould. I believe one of the reason for the confusion there is one of the responses that was provided in Attorney Swiniarski's communication was to the Health Department's input. Okay, Councilor Turco.
For the benefit of the council, I just had one last statement to make regarding the DAS system and to, well, maybe it's not my last statement, but first of all, Mr. Swiniarski, thank you. If it got contentious at some point, you know, I wish that didn't happen, but I think that everybody wants to see better service in the city of Peabody. And it's not that we're opposed to the Coolidge location or we're opposed to DAS or for DAS. We don't know. We're at that point now. You've seen the progress. I think that it's a matter of education. And I don't want to, at any way, to make this sound like this is on the light plant. The light plant also has their research to do in this matter. And I just wanted to make that statement toward my fellow, my colleagues on the light plant. I know that they have to look into this thoroughly before they make a decision on this. But just for the benefit of my colleagues, I just wanted to read very quickly, for the record, an article out of a local Western newspaper, Western, Massachusetts, not Western, Massachusetts. And it's very brief. And it says, to improve wireless service while preserving natural and historic character, communities choose DAS. Sample communities include Andover, Cohasset, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, Wellesley, San Juan Capistrano, Malibu, and Santa Barbara, California, the University of Notre Dame. If you scroll down further, it says the tower, even underground DAS, has been installed in Boston's MBTA in Brookline, Massachusetts. A DAS system, in Brookline, Massachusetts, a DAS system was used to extend service within the community. Emergency communications and public safety can be supported by the DAS during difficult times, as in Atlanta, where DAS maintained communications in a tornado during 2008. And lastly, the greater capacity of DAS handles more simultaneous phone conversation that leads to fewer dropped and unplaceable phone calls, and it has been deployed at major event venues such as Fenway Park and Foxborough Stadium. I just for the benefit, so that we knew how widespread this system is, it's being widely used. I believe you may have said this yesterday, it's the future of telecommunications. So I think it's something that the city definitely needs to look at. That being said, you mentioned the 90-day period.
We just have a motion to receive that article you just read,
Okay,
Councilor Turco.
motion to receive the article from Wicked Weston.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed to vote? Councilor Turco.
So I think we'd like to take advantage of that 90-day period. I think that, or at least a portion of that 90-day period, to get us all on the same page, to discuss with the city solicitor what the legal options regarding this are, to discuss with our engineering department where the DAS, or I'm sorry, where the need is in the city of Peabody, and to also discuss with the light plant the DAS system, as well as the, what's the other system again?
Well, we call it CRAN, but
C-
believe me,
CRAN.
the
Okay.
distinction is not really one. Remember what DAS stands for, Distributed Antenna System. It just means antennas all around. Everything's
Okay.
DAS.
Right, so we just want
Don't
that
get caught up in
opportunity.
the terminology.
So at this point, be a motion to close the public hearing.
I
No.
think we may want to leave the hearing
Oh,
open.
my fault. A motion to recess the public hearing till a later date in order to investigate some of these issues that have arose tonight. And Tim, do we have available dates, or Mr.
I
President?
think the date certain we want to provide would be July 14th.
July 14th?
Correct.
Okay.
So that we have a motion to recess to a date
Right.
certain, July 14th, is that correct? Councilor
Motion to
Turco?
recess the public hearing in order to better investigate our options till July 14th.
Councilors, you heard the motion to recess this, on the motion, Councilor Walsh.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I have no objection at all to recessing this public hearing, but my request would be that in the interim, while we're investigating these other options, I would ask to be included, because I know there have been some conversations, and I really hope that any other public hearings that we have our representation here. I would ask that somebody from the legal department be present as well. But, you know, I think we as members need to be included in the conversations that have taken place, because there are several things that have been alluded to by the attorney this evening. I'm not sure who he's talked to other than the city solicitor. You know, there are inferences, but we haven't been privy to that, and I would just like to be part of that. I'd like us to know, as the talks are ongoing, that we are updated.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh. Councilor Sinowitz.
Thank you, Mr. President. There were some comments made through you to the attorney. You know, I don't take offense to anything you said, Mr. Swiniarski. It's business. But what I do take offense to is somebody telling a judge that this council is already predetermined before a public hearing took place, that we were already opposed to this without having a public hearing, having the due process. That's wrong. I do take offense to that. So that it's your job. You do what you got to do. I don't take offense to anything you said.
Just to be clear, I'm not the one who said it.
I get it, but thank you.
So we have a motion on the floor to recess the public hearing until July 14th. Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Sinowitz.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Charist.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Motion to recess carries 9-0, 2 absent.
All right, see you all in July. Bring water.
Peter, 2-minute recess, Mr. Chairman.
2-minute recess.
I thought I had two coming.
Judas. Wrap that gavel.
All right. Item 4E. The clerk, please read the notice of public hearing.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as a special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, May 26th, 2016, at 7:30 p.m. in the Franklin Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. On the application from Jermaine Anderson, 123 Killam Hill Road, Boxford, Mass. For a special permit to hold a kennel license at 147 Summit Street, Unit 6, Peabody, Mass. As filed in accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. Peabody City Council, Councilor Peter M. McGinn, City Council President.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Good evening, councilors. I'm Jermaine Anderson, 123 Killam Hill Road, Boxford, Mass. 01921. And I'm the owner of Loyal Canines, and it's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate your time as well. We are a dog training school, currently offering training services from basic obedience, intermediate to advanced off-leash training. as well as offering behavior modification, therapy coaching, canine good citizen certifications for the American Kennel Club's CGC program. We also offer dog daycare, boarding, grooming, and retail services. Since we've been in business, we've been extremely popular and received a tremendous amount of support and steady growth year over year. Our clientele not only is local, but also we've been receiving a lot of national recognition for some of our prestigious overnight boot camp training programs from the likes of Houston, Texas, LA, Portland, Oregon, just to name a few. Currently, we've been operating at capacity. I've got a location in Beverly that's currently 6,000 square feet of space. And due to the fact that we are operating at capacity, this would be a second location for us that we've identified, which would be a great spot for our services, so that we can continue to extend our geographic reach and expand our services to our current clients that come from Boston, Linfield, PBD, Woburn, and many other surrounding towns. We do a lot of work within the community with many different local veterinarians, shelters, the local police department, animal control. We work with those guys very closely when we assist them in proper handling training for dogs that pose a potential threat to the society. We also hold numerous events at my facility, currently in Beverly, for numerous community events for children, kids, Boys and Girls Clubs, Citizen Police Academy. They're, again, assisting them in proper handling and safety techniques. And we certainly look to do so in your community as well. Currently, where we're located, our facility, we share, there's 17 units within the garage park. This is the facility in Beverly. And we've never had any sort of issues with any, sort of sound or anything like that. Everything, this facility that, we've located, which would actually be in a much better location because we wouldn't be sharing a wall, but we've never had any issues with sound anyway. The facility is also, it's concrete, so when the dogs are inside, nobody would hear anything. I have outlined in a collage, if anybody's interested in seeing it, what we would do with the exterior yard. And we are going to be putting a 6-foot vinyl privacy fence, and there would never be more than a handful of dogs outside at any given time. The only time the dogs would be outside would be during normal business hours, which would be Monday through, weather permitting, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Other than that, the dogs would never be outside. With respect to, cleaning and everything, we use the most advanced, cleaning solutions, that's out there on the market. It's EPA registered, as well as eco-friendly. It's called the Wishy-Wash system. It's great for controlling and killing bacteria, controlling for mold, algae, as well as, for spraying and disinfecting, whenever a dog, does go to the bathroom. It also contains a smell. At any point in time when a dog does go to the bathroom, wherever they do, it will be, disinfected and contained in a bag, and we will certainly use, we've got a dumpster that we would also put it in, and it would be emptied weekly, which is what we currently do right now at my facility in Beverly. As I mentioned before, we work very closely with, the local police department, and I've got letters of recommendation from the Beverly Police Department as well as the mayor of Beverly, so if anybody would like to see those, I'm happy to distribute those. And I am very familiar with the conditions that have been submitted forth from the Board of Health, which is standard protocol in terms of dogs being fully vaccinated at all times while they're on the premises. We keep written files of all the dogs, as well as the rabies certificates and tags, while they're on the premises. There are random checks now that they have to do, so we are required to have these at all times. So the dogs have to be vaccinated for rabies, distemper, kennel cough, and we also require a 6-month fecal exam as well.
Mr. Anderson, when you say you have the information from the Director of Health and Human Services, are you referring to the letter dated May 24th?
Yes, that's correct.
Can I have a motion to receive this late Councilor Turco?
I believe we already received that.
Yeah, you
Motion
received it to the wrong hearing, and we withdrew that motion, so.
Motion to receive the letter from Director of Human Services, Sharon Cameron.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. You mentioned, Mr. Anderson, you had a picture or a rendering or something. Would you like to pass that around? Council, you can give it to Councilor Matsoulis. Councilor Matsoulis, can I have a motion to receive that? Councilors, you heard the motion to receive. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Mr. Anderson? Mr. Anderson? I just need you to speak into the microphone. Everything needs to go on the record.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was just explaining to him how the other photos. When you're looking at the photos, I've got photos with clear text that explains, the different sections of the building that you're looking at, what the outdoor yard currently looks like right now, and a preview of what it's going to look like, after it is landscaped and with our fence. Also, with respect to any sort of noise or sound or anything any issues. Like I said before, we've never had. I share walls, and I've been there for over 3 years, in Beverly, and sharing, walls on both sides of us, and we've never had any issues with sound. And, we have 3 large garage bay doors that are currently open, and we are actually located close to a driving school, and there are kids, children that, want to come down and, would love to see the dogs, but it's completely, they can't see anything. But we've got a window in the lobby area that does allow, any client or, passerby that wants to, check out our facility. And if at any point in time, if a dog, does get surprised by a truck that, squeals in front of the facility, if they bark, then we put the doors down, because we certainly, keep, our neighbors in mind. And if that does certainly happen, which we don't foresee it happening because of the fence system that we will be, installing, the dogs will not be able to see anything. Nobody will be able to see, the dogs. And this would be where it's located. There shouldn't be any. I haven't seen any children frequent the property.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Is there anybody here this evening that would like to speak in support of this application? Anybody that would like to speak in support of this application?
Good evening, councilors. My name is Julie Daigle. I work in community development. I'm the business liaison, and I'd be happy to speak in support of Jermaine Anderson's special permit application to expand his business from Beverly to Peabody. I met with Jermaine and Karen Conard from community development, and we were very impressed with his business plan, his understanding for dogs. If you have any questions about the psychology of a dog, talk to Jermaine, and you'll be very impressed with his knowledge. Karen in my department also went to his site in Beverly and thought he ran a fantastic organization there, and we think that the industrial park would be a great location, not directly close to residents. Jermaine is very responsive with any communication, and our community development department also approved a loan for Jermaine for the fit-up of his space in support of this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in support of this application? Anybody else that would like to speak in support? Is there anybody that would like to speak in opposition to this application? Anybody that would like to speak in opposition? Seeing none, Councilor Turco. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see Mr. Donovan.
My name's Russell Donovan, 12 Crow Road. I'm here of concern, not necessarily against. Are they going to be breeding dogs there? No. Okay, thank you. How many dogs? Well, the reason why...
We'll take all your questions together, and then we'll get Mr. Anderson back up to the microphone so that he can respond to them.
The city of Peabody had a kennel dog boarding operation proposed on 114 not too long ago. Is this the best possible use in the city of Peabody? How many kennels do we have operating in the city? Does the city have the resources to inspect the properties to make sure they're being properly maintained and the dogs are in well care? Well, it's easy to come up here and give a very good presentation, but in practice, is it good for the dogs? Is it good for the city? Is there a need for the city to have a kennel? Those questions, I'd like to have some answers from the city officials. The department, is the Board of Health going to be doing an inspection on this property regularly?
I mean, I have neighbors with dog problems. Now we're going to put a professional in with probably a lot of dogs. I'd like to see some oversight by the city before you just approve it. It is a special permit, and I know the city will do the right thing, so please consider my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Donovan. Mr. Anderson, would you like to address any of those issues raised? Thank you.
With respect, I completely, I completely understand your concerns and my experience in dealing with working with the community. I can't say enough in terms of how much work we do. We're not your normal dog kennel. We do have letters of recommendation from the mayor of Beverly, as well as the police department of Beverly, supporting what we do for the community. In terms of, like I said before, holding events for children to teach them how to properly handle dogs. We have as many as 30 kids that come to our facility on many different occasions, and they learn how to properly handle dogs. They learn how to interact with dogs. They don't get bit. Dogs that do pose potential threats to society, the ones that do get loose, I get those phone calls. So I work very closely with the animal control officer to, help him evaluate the dogs, issuing muzzle orders, or making sure these dogs, are placed in their proper homes and receive the proper training so that they no longer pose a potential threat to society. So those are the phone calls that my facility gets. So in retrospect, there's a huge need for any community that, does what we do, but I don't know of anybody else that does what we do, that works very closely and handles these situations on a daily basis. So with that respect, I think that there's a huge need, for a business like mine that has a, strategic niche in dealing with, not only the customers but also the community, the shelters, the vets, pretty much everybody within the pet industry. So in terms of, inspections, I mean, now we get inspected at random, and, to make sure that, all the dogs are fully vaccinated, to make sure that there's enough employees at the business. And I currently have 15 people on staff. I'll be hiring 8 more starting off, so that we have enough, employees, to supervise the dogs. And I currently have 5 professional trainers, and who are every bit, credible to handle dogs. My trainers also travel with me to local events, and where we give demonstrations and teach, like I said before, handling, safety, and they also want to inspect and make sure that the facility is clean. Our facility is always, disinfected and clean. I don't like the smell either, so I'm going to make sure that when a dog goes to the bathroom, I mean, you don't just become immune to it, and I do not mean that in any, sarcastic manner, but with respect to everybody else, it has to be clean and disinfected, because, you're right. I mean, there are some people who are not responsible dog owners, and we want to be the ones to, be able to, help coach, people and, kids and about what responsible, dog ownership is all about.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Anybody else in opposition? Seeing none, Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had the opportunity to meet Jermaine at that meeting with Julie at City Hall several months ago. I believe it was. It seems like forever ago. But I was immediately impressed with his business plan, with his love of what he does, with his references. It's not typical for many mayors to go on record for any business. So to see that from Mayor Cahill, I think that speaks volumes. Jermaine and I spoke on the phone more recently. We discussed limits to the dogs. Mr. President, through you to Mr. Donovan to answer his question. Jermaine and I had discussed 20 dogs maximum for the overnight stays in the kennel. 50 during the day. It's a 6,000 square foot facility, and I think that's largely in line with where you are in Beverly. And I did speak to the Beverly Building Commissioner's office, and those are the numbers that were given to me. So honestly, I think it's there is a high demand for dog training, kennels for this type of business. As somebody that just recently walked all of Ward 1 and knocked on doors and probably got more dog barks than anybody, I think this is a desirable need for us, and I would wish you the best of luck, and I would like to make a motion to approve.
I'm just going to ask if we have any other councilors that might want to speak on this. Council Walsh.
Yeah, Mr. President, I just want to make one comment. The reference to the petitioner on 114, I'd like to remind everybody that was more in a residential neighborhood. There were a lot of issues with that. This is a completely different type of request, and I think this makes much more sense. The location makes a lot of sense as far as convenience coming off the highway, people going to and from work. And surprisingly, I am not a dog owner, but it amazes me how many people do take advantage of a doggy daycare type environment on a daily basis. So I think this is a much better location, and as long as he meets all the other codes, I think it's a positive thing.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh. Other councilors? Councilor Turco.
Motion to approve.
We need to close the hearing.
Move to close the public hearing.
Councilors, you heard the motion to close the public hearing. All in favor? Any opposed to vote? Councilor Turco.
Mr. President, I have a motion to approve the application for Jermaine Anderson, 123 Killiam Hill Road, Boxford, Mass. For a special permit to hold a kennel license at 147 Summer Street, Unit 6, Peabody, Mass. Is filed in accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance with the following conditions. 1, no more than 20 dogs to be housed overnight. 2, no more than 50 dogs on the premises at any time. 3, anytime a dog is on the property, an employee will be present. 4, dog waste is to be removed from the property on a weekly basis. 5, the outside dog play area shall be fenced and constructed in a manner to prevent any person from placing their hand or any object through the fence. 6, hours of operation Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., and 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. or by appointment only.
That's correct.
7, a kennel license shall be obtained by the applicant through the city clerk. 8, any interior areas used to board animals must have floors and walls constructed of impervious, easily cleanable materials and maintained in a sanitary condition. 9, exterior grounds must be maintained in a sanitary condition. 10, applicant must ensure that solid wastes are properly stored and disposed of in such a manner as to prevent the attraction of pests in the development of nuisance odors. 11, applicant must develop written policies and procedures for responding to nuisance complaints pertaining to odor and noise. 12, applicant must develop written policies and procedures for sanitizing the kennel, boarding areas, and equipment, and for storing pet food in a manner so as to not to attract pests. 13, applicant must maintain documentation demonstrating that all animals are properly vaccinated as a condition of enrollment.
On the motion? Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Sinowitz.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Manning Martin. Charis.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0, 2 absent.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Thank you.
Item 4F, would the clerk please read the notice of public hearing?
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as a special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, May 26th, 2016, at 7:30 p.m. in the Franklin Wiggin Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., on the application from Farhad and Farid Inc., care of Rezakul Chowdhury, President, 99 Florence Street, Malden, Mass., for a special permit to operate a convenience store at 139 Linfield Street, Unit 100, Peabody, Mass. is filed in accordance with Sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. Peabody City Council, Councilor Peter M. McGinn, City Council President.
Good evening, members of the council. Attorney Tom Truax, 530 Loring Avenue, Salem, Mass. I'm appearing on behalf of the applicant. With me to my right is the president of the applicant, Rezikul Chowdhury, and to my left is the landlord's property manager, Mr. Anthony Cogliano of Saugus. Before you is an application for a special permit. Mr. Chowdhury is seeking permission to open a Richdale convenience store at the location at 139 Linfield Street, Unit 100. This is the former location of Sal's Pizza. Prior to the filing of this application, we spoke with Councilor Turco to make sure we were all on the same page on this. Since the filing, Mr. Chowdhury and Mr. Cogliano have also met with Councilor Turco, and we have gone over a lot of the details and have discussed some of the requests that Mr. Turco has asked for. Several of the items that were discussed with Councilor Turco was namely that the store hours be kept from 6 to 11 p.m. and that deliveries be made to the side of the store rather than in front of the store. Keep the parking areas clean, keep trash barrels outside the store for any trash outside the store, and fourth, keep the window lighting at a minimum. No neon lighting, but just keep the effect on the neighborhood, to keep it at a minimum in terms of the lighting. Mr. Chowdhury agreed to all of these requests, and as Mr. Chowdhury has indicated, if there are any further requests from either the neighbors or from Councilor Turco, we will gladly incorporate those in the business as well. Mr. Chowdhury owns several other convenience stores in the area, including a Richdale's in Saugus, which is in the Cogliano Plaza, which is owned by Mr. Cogliano. I believe Mr. Cogliano can attest to the fact that Mr. Chowdhury runs a first-rate business and has been running that business for at least, I think, 10 or some odd years. The other business he owns have also been run very well. He has dealt with the former owner of Richdale's and the former owner of Westland Creamery, Arthur Papathanasis, and they know him very well and also are very well aware of his business acumen. At this time, I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Is there anybody here this evening that would like to speak in support of this application? Anybody here that would like to speak in support of this application?
I would. Thank you, Mr. President. For the record, Anthony Cogliano, 27 Sereno Way, Saugus, Mass. As the attorney said, that I am the property manager and responsible for real estate development for Palumbo Properties, and one of our properties is New Hall Crossing at 139 Linfield Street. When the space came available for Sal's Pizza, I went out and sought Joe for the location, just knowing what he's done at my plaza. He's been there for the past 8 years. Previous to that, I had 7-Eleven, and then White Hen Pantry before them, and they don't even compare to the operation that he runs. It's first class. The store's impeccably clean, and it's not your average convenience store. He has everything in there, in quantity. He's been a welcome addition to our plaza, and I know that he will be in this location as well. I know the other tenants in the building are very excited to have Mr. Chowdhury. Hopefully he gets permitted tonight in that location, because he will bring additional business to the plaza. And just knowing the way he conducts himself and the way he is with the residents of Saugus, I'm sure he'll be the same fashion here in Peabody. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak in support of this application? Anybody here this evening that would like to speak in opposition to this application? You can state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Timothy Hartney, 25 Coolidge Ave in Peabody. I understand we're having another convenience store. We have multiple, in this area, we have multiple convenience stores. Oh, I'm sorry. We have multiple convenience stores from 7-Eleven on Lynn Street And right across the street from this plaza is a small variety store called TJ's. And a little bit further down from right where the Plum Tomato is, in that plaza next to Nick's, is another convenience store. Plus, we have a Shell gas station. Not only does it serve gasoline, but it also is a small convenience store. I'm in favor of growth, but I'm also in favor that too much of a good thing is a bad thing. If you're overcrowding one area with so many things, nobody's not going to want to go to those spots. I mean, the locations of the 7-Eleven, the TJ's, the Shell, along with the CVS as well, they're all almost equally spaced out, so a lot of people don't have to travel to one area. You congest it all into one spot, it's going to be a headache. It's going to hurt the small business people that are working around there, from Ali that owns the 7-Eleven down the street on Lynch Street, from the new owners over at the Shell gas station, from the people that are working from Nick's that are here doing the same thing. The owners from TJ's, it's going to hurt them too if this is going to be put up. It's not a good thing to overcrowd something with the same idea or same type of business style. It needs to be spread out and a lot more even than all congested and blocked up.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak in opposition to this application?
Hi, I'm Ann Trainer from 140 Linfield Street. I live right across from the store where they want to go in, where Sal's Plaza was. And I'm opposed to it because, for one thing, there's, like the other gentleman said, there's a lot of little convenience stores close by, okay? However, if everybody feels that they should go in there, I think they should have the hours from either 7 to 10 or 6 to 10 in the morning. And they should have no deliveries before 7 a.m. or after 6 p.m. And the sign problem, when the store is closed, the sign should be off, because I don't want the sign shining in my windows all night. And also, they said they'd have a lot of things in their store. Does that mean they want beer and wine? Because I'm absolutely opposed to having any beer or wine to be sold in the store.
We'll get all the questions and then you can address them. Thank you.
I think that's basically it,
Thank you. I'd ask the attorney to step up and just address that one question about beer and wine, if you don't mind.
This is something that we discussed, absolutely positively no beer and wine.
Thank you.
Make that part of the conditions.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak in opposition? Mr. Osborne.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Barry Osborne. I live at 3 Callis Circle, and it's nice to see you all again. I just want to go back in time when Stonewood Plaza was first thought of, and I had an opportunity to meet with Mr. Palumbo, and he said he wanted to have a plaza full of specialty stores, specialty shops, high-end, and to his word, he kept his word. I mean, I got to say, he did his best. There's some different types of businesses in there, from nail salons to packaged foods. Unfortunately, that didn't make it. Yogurt, which wasn't in the area at the time. His restaurant. And then we had the problem with the so-called Amber Room, which took a lot of work but was resolved, and to Mr. Palumbo's credit. But it wasn't meant as, and all the concerns, and you know how much I supported that project. It's not like I was blind to the concerns that were raised by a good number of the councilors here, and it took a lot of effort to get the situation resolved. And I think we've done, with you, with me, with your help, we're able to pull it off, and I think we have a good thing there now. Almost too good. If you go drive by there on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, the parking lot for the restaurant and the entertainment is full. People that enter in and exit this facility will not be able to use the curb cut that Mr. Palumbo generously expanded on the far end of the property, they would have to come into the first curb cut, which really limits their parking in front of the proposed store. So it'll increase the traffic volume in that area. And really, the biggest the concern was the noise. And we were able to handle that through some very expensive soundproofing, specialty doors, specialty windows for the restaurant and the entertainment, whatever you want to call it, okay? And that came at an expense. And the lighting issue, and I certainly appreciate you willing to keep the lighting as low as possible. That doesn't sound very safe to me. To me, I would think if you're going to have a store open till 11 o'clock at night, you have to provide lighting for the safety of your customers. So to say you're going to keep the light low is pretty unreasonable. I can't think of a convenience store that you go by right now where you can say, wow, that's pretty good. Look how dim the front of that store is. That's great. They must really care about those neighbors. It's not safe. You have to light it up. You have to light it up for the safety of your customers. So to say you're going to keep it dim probably is not going to happen. We mentioned local desirable need. The gentleman did a great job. Oh, you forgot the store at Centennial Crossing, okay? Or the store up by Browns Pond. We actually have convenience stores scattered pretty well throughout the ward and in pretty good locations. To say there's a local desirable need there, I don't see one. You don't have to go very far to get to another convenience store. We have a family here, all right? And I know you're going to say competition. We can't stop competition. But let's be fair about this, okay? Is it really fair competition? We got a family here that says, TJ's Variety, let's take it back, all right? How about Frango's Market that really served the purpose in that community at the time? Charlie Frango's, he provided a service to Ward 1, and he did for many, many, many years. And he did well at it, right? And then they get taken over by a family, all right? Here's the difference when you want to talk about competition. Here's a family here fighting for their livelihood against Rich Dales, who comes in with the property manager and the lawyer. So if you want to say it's competition, it's like saying Councilor Sinowitz, who was a pretty good amateur fighter from what I understand in your day, fighting Muhammad Ali. That's competition, right? That'd be a great competition, right? It'd be a great fight for Muhammad, but it really wouldn't be fair competition. So I think you're very fair. I think we've been very fair. I really don't think it's what Stonewood Plaza was intended to be. It wasn't intended to be a location for a, no offense, a Richdale store. It was high-end. I wish I could quote Sal. High-end specialty. How are you going to fill it, Sal? No problem. I can control the rents. I'm going to build it myself. Okay, go for it. But just because you're having a hard time filling spots doesn't mean you really should allow them to change what it was intended to be. And he really has kept his word up until now, but I think the location of that store and the traffic up until 11 o'clock, all right, go by there on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, okay? Look at the parking lot. Look where the cars are parked. You won't have to worry about lighting because they'll probably be parking in front of your house. Because that's what they have to do now at TJ's. They park on either side of the street. Because that's what you do when you go to a convenience store. That's why it's a convenience store. You know, you drive up, you run in, and get what you got to get. So if you really think there's going to be enough parking there on a Friday or Saturday night at 11 o'clock, they'll be parking there from 6 in the morning till 4, 5. But if you think on a weekend when the restaurant's going well, you're not going to get a car in there. They're going to be parking in front. So with that being said, I never thought I would be the one up here talking against a business going into that Stonewood Plaza. Because God knows You know, I was the biggest advocate when it was going on. But again, I don't think it's what the plaza was intended for. I don't think it's the type of business that should be going in there. There is no local desire or need. There are plenty of stores located within a quarter of a mile of that location. And I just don't think it's the proper use for that location. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne. Anybody else that'd like to speak in opposition?
For the record, my name's Russell Donovan. I live in 12 Quail Road. Coming here tonight, I went by Stonewood Tavern. Parking lot was full. It was before 7 o'clock. There was overflow parking on Corwin Street that goes back to the, on the side road. Parking lot was jam full. It's like that all the time. And for a little bit of the record, back when Stonewood was before the city council, I was the only neighbor in favor of that development. Councilor Gamache at the time fell off the chair when he heard me in favor of something. And as Barry eloquently spoke, convenience stores, it's a neighborhood need. The neighborhood is not expanding to the point that we need another convenience store. We have families working. If you go, we all go to convenience stores. For those who smoke, you buy a pack of cigarettes, you get the newspaper, you buy some bread, you buy your lottery tickets for sure, because it's going to be a big one tomorrow night. And they live, the local neighborhood stores live on the neighborhood. You add another major store like Richdale's, who has the financial wherewithal to make a good-looking store when families are having a hard time making a living on the neighborhood people who come to use their neighborhood store, convenience store. There's not a need. Councilor of Ward 1, Turco, said in his opening remarks about the antenna, the Verizon, is there a need for another convenience store? He's answered his own question when he was talking about needs. We don't have a neighborhood need for a convenience store. And as
Mr. President, through you to Mr. Donovan, I don't know if you misspoke, but I didn't say there was no need for another convenience store.
no, you were talking about the neighborhood needing another antenna.
Right, and then you said, I said there was no need for another convenience
Councilor
store.
Turco, we have it on the record, so we're good.
I understood you didn't say convenience store. It's the same topic, the need, the local need for something, whether it be an antenna or another convenience store. The former councilor Osborne spoke very eloquently. I leave it to the city council tonight to vote no to deny this special permit. There is no need. We have to support our local businesses. I could go down the list of all the stores that provide similar services. Right down the line, this new store would be less than 200 feet from an existing convenience store. We don't need another one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Donovan. Anybody else would like to speak in opposition? State your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, I'm Mithun Jalal, and I'm the daughter of the owners of TJ's Variety. I'm here to speak on behalf of my family. For the past month, we've been talking to the customers and to the neighborhood that have come through, and there's been much mention of a need for another convenience store and what kind of service my family provides to the neighborhood. Richdale's is a corporation. There are several. They will provide many things, but if there is a concern like my child is allergic to lactose, can you have soy milk? That isn't addressed to the owner. That isn't addressed to my father or mother who has it in the store the next day because our neighbors need it. It'll be addressed to store manager who will maybe get around to it. That's the type of service my family provides in that neighborhood. And if we speak about need, and if the councilors want to reflect the need of that neighborhood, we have about 70 signatures of the people that live in that area that oppose the building of this store. So if need is really a concern, I would like to show the councilors these signatures.
You can hand that to Councilor Matsoulis. You heard the motion to receive. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
So, to conclude, I would like to ask the councilors to review the actual need for this convenience store. It's 300 feet from our store, which is, our store is maybe 1,000 feet from the next store. And that store is about 1,000 feet from the other store. And then there's a 7-Eleven that's probably a couple thousand feet from that store. So, do we provide enough service for the neighborhood? I think we do. I think we provide more than enough, because the type of service we provide isn't a corporate one. It isn't something that's in every neighborhood. It's the type that I had described. My child needs this, can you have it the next day? And we say yes, and we provide it. Or do you think that you can carry this type of bread because I enjoy it and I don't feel like going to the grocery store, and we bring it in the next day because that's what the neighborhood needs. So I would like the councilors to really consider if this is the best decision for the neighborhood and the demands and the needs of the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney, there was one specific point. I think you want to, if you could just, in the interest of time.
I mean, I appreciate the comments, but the reference to the corporate giant, Richdale's, what this is Richdale is long gone. Richdale sold off all their stores. The owners of Richdale's have retired, they're gone. But they do allow people like Mr. Chowdhury, who's a family man. He and his brother are running the store. It's not a corporation. So Richdale allows, for a price, they do charge them a certain amount of money to use the name Richdale, because it has some value in the neighborhood, in the area. So they allow it, but it's not Richdale. There's no Richdales here. There's no corporate entity behind it. It's Mr. Chowdhury and his family that are doing this, and he has the same issues as every mom and pop store. He's a brother and brother store. So it's not a corporate giant that we're dealing with here.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? You have to be very brief, okay? Thank you.
I would like to ask if the store is going to be directly run by the owners, or if it will be run by hired employees.
Thank you. You can address that, Attorney.
Chowdhury will be there.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak in opposition? Please step forward. State your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Bhavna Patel. I own the convenience store on 145A Summit Street in Paybury. I think we don't need any more convenience store. I've been in business since 2002, and I don't want to lose my customers and my business too. We have so many convenience store, 7-Eleven on Lynn Street, CVS right across my store, TJ Variety right across the store they're gonna open. So I think we don't need so many convenience store. We have a gas station, liquor store. So I request all the councilor, we don't need no more convenience store, because I don't want to lose my business and all the customer. I've been in business since 2002, so it's about like 14 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else like to speak in opposition to this application? Anybody else like to speak in opposition? Please step forward. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, everybody. Good evening, sir. Yeah, I'm also the convenience store owner. It's the same thing like if you see the downtown.
Sir, could you just give your name and address for the record?
My name is Jayesh Kumar Patel, and same convenience store we own, the Summit Street. But if you see the downtown, it's too many beer and wine, too many liquor store over here. So everybody's losing business. So we have the same concern. Like, why should we need a more convenience store in the same area within half mile or within 1 mile? That's it.
Thank you. Anybody else in opposition? Anybody else in opposition? Seeing none, Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Anthony. Anthony, I see that you wanted to say something, so I'm actually going to allow
Thank you very much, Mr. Turco. I just want to address a couple points. A question was raised about Mr. Palumbo and his desire to have high-end stores there. This is something Sal and I talked at length about, and in order for him to see the kind of quality that Mr. Chowdhury has, I brought him to my location, looked at the store. It's impeccably clean and everything that they have. The only thing I wanted to add to the discussion was there was some talk about lighting and what we can do to have less impact on the neighbors. In addition to the store that they have in my property, I own the house next to it too, so I am very cognizant of lighting coming off there. I don't want it to interfere with my home or the neighbors' homes. So what we have on the front sign, it's an aluminum backlit leaded sign, so there's no light pushing forward, there's just light that shines behind the sign. So there's no light going forward. So that's one thing we would concede to here. And we also had a discussion today about planting shrubs along the front of the building, so if there are any cars parked out there, that those shrubs would stop any light that's going forward to the neighbors. I just want to add that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. And yes, I did meet with Anthony and Joe. I've had several discussions, one with Attorney Truax. I understand, and I've had conversations with the neighbors about the possibility of placing the Richdale at this location. And thank you to Councilor Osborne also for sharing some information with me that I was unaware of. At this point, this property's been open for roughly 6 months. And, you know, Anthony, can you tell me how many offers you've had, how many applications you've had for something to go into this?
Aside from Richdale, the only other people that were interested in it were sub shops. That was all we had. We didn't have many calls on it at all. But in addition to Richdale, we are excited about the addition of Evers Pastry, who was here a couple weeks ago, and we also have another new store, Wake Up Pretty. So we think all three of them are going to be a great addition to the property.
Well, thank you, Anthony. You stole my thunder a bit, and it was exactly my point. As the ward councilor and Councilor Osborne, I'm sure you'll agree with me, a major concern is vacant storefronts. I did see three vacant storefronts in that property, and I do understand, you know, the consensus is, yeah, we'd all like to see a Starbucks, we'd all like to see, you know, a Panera Bread. There's a number of businesses we'd love to see in that location. I myself was a little disappointed when, you know, and that's no offense to you, Joe, that this was what it was a Richdale. But also I did look at the fact that we're serving multiple purposes here. We have a plaza that's fully rented. My personal belief is that vacant stores are detrimental to a neighborhood. I've seen vacant storefronts in other areas that, anyway, I would like to support this. I have had conversations with Joe and Anthony. I think that they've addressed each and every issue without a second thought. You know, I don't think that they are the big corporate conglomerate that that was portrayed here. I think that it is a guy that holds the Richdale name just as well as somebody that holds the TJ's name. That's it. He has a family. And we've discussed several conditions on this special permit, and they were amenable to Joe and Anthony. And through Councilor Walsh, a suggestion that Councilor Walsh had made to me several weeks back, that if I did meet with them, to at least mention shrubbery in the front, which was discussed. That wasn't even a second thought to them. They were very willing to put the shrubbery up to prevent any lights from shining in the windows of the neighbors across the street. The other suggestion by Councilor Walsh was no parking signs at the frontage of Linfield Street to address what Councilor Osborne had mentioned with people pulling over. I think that's very easily fixable. Yes, there are TJ's, it's constant with TJ's on both sides of the street with vehicles pulling over. Nobody's ever come to you to complain about it. We let you do business. You mentioned a petition of 75 to 80 people. I agree with you. I think, as you know, I'm a client of your store. I've come to your store since my kids were infants. I think that 75 to 80 people that signed your petition will continue to come to your store. This isn't the demographic that I think the neighborhood, or excuse me, Richdale would get. I think they would get the business from the plaza, from the Stonewood, from people that are already in the plaza. That being said, I think it does serve a desirable local need in the fact that it's a wider variety of product. We have been to TJ's, we've been to the gas stations that you mentioned, we've been to the store 24. Richdale, the Richdales I've been to carry a wider variety of products. There is a whole neighborhood there that would like access to those products that are differently held. And at this point, I'd like to support this application.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Councilor Gravel.
Yes, thank you, Councilor. And I certainly hear the petitioner as well as the neighbors. And I remember when I first started on the council, there was a councilor who I know very well who stood and put up a great fight because at one point in time on Summit Plaza, there was the store that was there wanted to put beer and wine in, and there were a number of people who came protesting, saying that, you know, if they put beer and wine in, then it's going to deplete the business of, South Peabody Liquor and anybody else that offers beer and wine. And he made a great argument. He said at the time, the purpose of the special permit is not to control competition. The purpose of the special permit is to determine desirable need and to make sure that it's consistent with, with the fair things that go on around it. I remember when Sal's Pizza went in there, and I said, they're going to have one heck of a time competing with 4 other pizza shops down the street. But you know what? My job is not to control their competition or to make them make them a better business. My job is to say, does it fit within the realm of reason in terms of what else is in that neighborhood? It's their job to take the risk in the business. I don't think Plum Tomatoes or any of the other shops around lost a nickel's worth of business to Sal's Pizza, and the proof is Sal's Pizza went out of business. They could not sustain themselves because the neighbors and the neighborhood decided where they wanted to go. And for people who go to TJ's, they're going to continue to go to TJ's. And for people who go down to the Sunoco station, which I've never been in, even though it's a variety store, I don't go there. I go to TJ's. They'll continue to go there. And, we could make the same argument about anything in this city. Hell, if we could control competition, there would be probably about 50% fewer barbershops and nail salons in the downtown. But that's not the case. The case is, if the business is there, they should have a right to operate. He has a building. The building has a vacancy. He has to carry the cost of that building on a month-to-month basis. He built the building at risk, but he never built the building saying, I won't ever put anything in there that nobody's not going to want. And we've seen what the situation is there. So while I feel for the situation, I think people are jumping to conclusions, just as they said hundreds and thousands of new cars will come with Dunkin' Donuts. That didn't come true, did it? And yet we had another Dunkin' Donuts, and there's plenty of those in the city. I think, we have to open our arms a little bit and say there's room for people to go there. There's room for all of us to survive. And I don't think people are going to change their mind just because he put a Richdale sign out there. Because he's got a Richdale right down the street at the corner of Linfield, Washington, and Lynn. So I just don't think it's what everybody is making this out to be. If it's a viable business and he's a reputable business and he's going to live up to conditions that's set for him, I think we should let him do his business. And if the neighbors don't accept him and they don't come and buy from him, he'll soon be out of business there. And that's how it works. I don't think we want to go down the path of using the special permit hearing to, and I know everybody said it's not about competition, but I didn't hear one person tell me one thing other than competition. It's not going to be good for the local businesses, because there's too many. I could say that about tons of business in this city, there's too many. But the idea is the ones that survive are the ones that give that service. And I would say that TJ's, with the description that that young woman gave about how they went out and got special milk, that's what keeps people coming to their store. And that will continue to keep people coming to their store. And I don't think they're going to be hurt one bit by this whole thing.
Thank you, Councilor Gravel. Councilor Manning Martin.
Yes, very briefly, I'd be in favor of this petition as long as the hours are 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. and the lights are off when they're closed, that the lights are off, as Ann Traina mentioned, as she lives right across the street, and anytime anything goes on in that plaza, she's the voice of that surrounding neighborhood. So I'd like to honor her very reasonable requests, because although, as she did come forward to say, she spoke in opposition, but she was willing to yet compromise again. So I think the council might follow that suit. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Councilor Sinowitz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Councilor Turco, I just want to, is the no alcohol part of the conditions?
Yes, we had thorough discussions. They probably got sick of hearing me ask it. There is no desire from them to have beer, wine, or alcohol at the premises. It is a condition listed if I do approve, and they're agreeable to it.
And the only other question is, and I don't know if this goes with alcohol, but are you planning, I know you have lottery tickets and scratch tickets, are you planning on putting in Keno?
The way the Keno, first of all, I don't know the answer. All I know is Keno is not the decision of the store owner, it's really the decision of the lottery. And usually the lottery won't even consider a Keno request until there's been a year's worth of sales and the store is making enough money to warrant a Keno. As to whether or not.
Yeah, if I do the enough lottery, then lottery gave you Keno, otherwise not. Initially, only lottery, no Keno. And when I increase the business for lottery, then if I apply the lottery office, they have to check, and if city allow for over there Keno, then lottery gave you Keno, otherwise not. If I want to Keno, I have to coming again here to city.
I don't know if that's necessarily true, only because when we just had a convenience store in West Peabody that had applied for a beer and wine license, and you know, over the years I didn't support it, and then I did support it the last time, so he had a beer and wine license, and then shortly afterwards the Keno went in. Now, if I knew the Keno was going in, it kind of rubbed, maybe I'm just too puritanical, but I don't find a convenience store should be a place where people are hanging out gambling all day playing Keno. So if you tell me right now there's going to be no Keno, I will say I will support your permit. If there's going to be Keno, it rubs me the wrong way. But
okay, no Keno.
Thank you. Through the chair,
yeah.
Could you make that part of the condition?
No Keno would be condition number 11.
Thank you, Councilor Sinowitz. Councilor Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. President, and through you first to Councilor Turco, I thank you for including the shrubs, because there are several houses across the street and the elevation is significantly different between the plaza and those homes, so those lights would shine into their front windows, so I thank you for that. Mr. President, through you to the petitioner, I guess my question is on the parking. You know, I like the idea of a convenience store there. I probably will use it because on my way home I can not have to worry about crossing traffic and pull in. But I guess my question is, are there going to be designated parking spots for the store?
To address your question, Sal's Pizza had designated spots in this out in front of their store. I think it was 10 spaces, and there'll be 10 that are strict, just set aside for Richdale. Now, people from the Stonewood can park there if he's closed. If he's going to close at 10, I'm sure that they'll fill up those spots, but we will reserve spaces for him out front.
Okay, and how will you enforce that during the daytime?
There's signage out front, and it'll be up to the tenant. I'm sure if there's people parking in his spaces out in front, he'll be upset about it. I know at my plaza, they have their own spaces and they police it. So if there's people that are in the hair salon that are there for more than 15 minutes parking in his spots, he lets them know that they're not supposed to be there. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh. Other councilors? Seeing none, Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to close the public hearing.
Councilors, you heard the motion to close the public hearing. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Turco.
Mr. President, I'm going to approve, I'm going to move to approve this application with several conditions. And I did have a question for Councilor Manning. Councilor Manning, I believe Ann had actually mentioned, Ann Trainer had actually mentioned that she would be okay with 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. And Anthony seems amenable to the 10 p.m. Can we do 6 a.m.? Because I think there's a large coffee desire. I've heard good things about the Richdale coffee. I think it's good.
You were paying attention, took notes, so 6 a.m., she said 6 a.m., you say it, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Mr. President, motion to approve the application from Farhad and Fareed Inc., CO Rezaqual Chowdhury, President 99 Florence Street, Malden, Mass. For a special permit to operate a convenience store at 139 Linfield Street, Unit 100, Peabody, Mass., as filed in accordance with Sections 4.2.5, 6.1, 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance with the following conditions. Hour of operations, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., Monday through Sunday. Number 2, no deliveries before 7 a.m. or after 6 p.m. 3, shrubs to be placed along the Linfield Street property line of 139 Linfield Street in an effort to block the lighting, headlights of vehicles. 4, no neon signs in the front-facing windows along Linfield Street with the exception of one sign stating open, which will be shut off upon closing. 5, no lit signs on the front facade with the exception of the entry light at the front entrance of the establishment. 6, a minimum of 2 covered trash barrels located at the front entrance. 7, no parking sign on Linfield Street along the frontage of the store location. 8, no beer, wine, or liquor. 9, I already mentioned signs will be off when closed. 10, deliveries made on side of store closest to Diamond Deli's. 11, no Keno at this location.
Councilors, you heard the motion. Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas, Sinowitz.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Charist.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0, 2 absent.
Excuse me, Mr. President, can I just address one point?
Yeah, briefly.
Okay, Councilor Turco said that deliveries would come in on the Diamond side. We don't have a door on that side. Can we bring them in on the other side? There's no door on that end of the building. We bring them on the...
Mr. President, is that appropriate to change that at this point?
We just voted on it. Not really. So you're saying what we've just voted on and what was agreed to previously?
Here you go, Councilman. Move for reconsideration, hoping it'll pass.
The motion for reconsideration in hopes that it will prevail. Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas, Sinowitz.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Manning
Yes.
Martin. Charist.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel. Gould. McGinn. Motion
Yes.
carries. Motion to reconsider carries 9-0. Back on the floor.
So
Okay. Move to amend the previous motion to change the delivery location from the Diamond Deli side to the... What is it? The restaurant side of the Richdale location.
Councilors, you heard the amendment to the motion. Roll call.
Councilors Mitsoulas. Sinowitz. Walsh.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Charis.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Motion carries 9 to nothing, 2 ayes. Almost time.
Yep. Reports of committees, we're going to have to defer that to a later agenda, as we've lost our chairperson. Motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Marsoulis. We need your mic.
I made a motion on May 5th about a no-turn on red sign. One was on Wallace Street and Tremont Street. What do I need? What do I have to have it advertised, Tim?
Yeah, we need the motion to advertise the ordinance to put up the no turn on red sign.
I'm making a motion to advertise the ordinance, Mr. Chairman.
You heard the
So
motion?
moved.
All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Marsoulis.
And under suspension of the rules, Mr. Chairman, just go right by me.
Councilor Sinowitz.
Thank you. Good, Ben.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 8A. I guess this is what you call a late communication, since this motion was made May 28th, 2015. And I'm just getting the response now, so I appreciate the DPW. So moved.
Councilors, you heard the motion received. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Sinowitz.
Move to receive under suspension of the rules, item 8B. This was, when we did the aggregate annual report, they incorrectly reported the amount of the volume of the water that they pumped out of the quarry in 2015 annual report. And we spotted that, and lo and behold, they've submitted a new one. So move to receive, Mr. President.
Do we need to refer that to your committee on aggregate?
Well, so I guess the
I think we had we still have an open meeting, the committee of the
Yes.
whole, on the annual report,
So
right?
we have to
So I
do
think
that.
we need to refer it to that.
Let's, yeah, we'll refer it to at the next meeting. We're gonna receive it, we're gonna approve it. the,
And
motion
so,
to approve.
right, so
Okay.
it's referred
All
to
right.
the committee of the whole that still has that issue
Yep.
in committee.
Thank you.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? Vote. Councilor Sinowitz.
And that's it.
Thank you, Councilor Sinowitz. Councilor Matsoulis, are you all set?
No, just go ahead, Ryan.
Okay, great. You shut your microphone off. That'd be great.
Tom's going to take care of it. He knows
Ex-
what I was looking
excellent.
for. The banner, St. Basilius.
Got you. Hit your mic. Thank you. Councilor Walsh.
No motions, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh. Councilor Charis.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to make a co-motion with Ms. Martin, Manning Martin, excuse me. Motion to have a handicap parking sign installed in front of 1 Ethel Ave.
We need to advertise that. That's an ordinance.
Do we know?
And advertise. Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Charis.
And also, correct me, we may need to advertise to have arrows painted at the end of Columbus Road on the road with a white line in the middle, one pointing to the left, one pointing to the right. That needs to go. And
That's referring that to DPS. Refer to
If you would,
DPS.
please. Yes.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
That's it.
Thank you, Councilor Charis. Councilor Turco.
Motion to receive item 8E under suspension of the rules, Craig's Pond Properties.
Yeah, so,
two.
Councilor Turco, this, when I looked at this one, this is a special permit request, and it was a little confusing to me because it looks like a zoning board issue. Are we proceeding with a hearing on this, or are we questioning this one?
You are correct, and thank you for reminding me, actually. That's a question I had. Tim, can we send this back?
So could we refer it back to the building commissioner for disposition? I mean, I'm not sure it's properly before us as a, would that make sense, Councilor Turco?
That's exactly what I want to do. So motion to send this back to item 8E, back to the building commissioner for further consideration, because I don't believe it belongs before us.
So you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Turco.
Motion to approve, all papers being in ordered. Item 9A, block party request for Our Lady of Help, 61 North End Street, August 26th, 7th, 8th, 2016. Laurie Nerrick and Julie Moran, Alexander Street and Travis Terrace, July 3rd.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? The vote. Councilor Turco.
No further motions, Mr. President.
Councilor Gravel.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to make a co-motion with the Council President on the situation at Linfield Street in front of the CVS Plaza, because I believe that's your jurisdiction, to come up with a solution for the Crazy Barrel issue that's there and the bad turn that's there, and possibly start by referring this to the Subcommittee on Safety. Municipal safety.
Thank you for that motion, Councilor. You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Gravel.
I would like to make a co-motion with my good friend and seatmate here, Councilor Ward 1, John Turco. I'm just trying to bring it up on my phone, John. I must need that additional cell service for. There are two signs that are on Bartholomew Street across from Orchard Street, and one of them says to beware that there are raised items in the road, which is usually the sign they put up for when they have grooved the pavement and raised the sewers. And there's another one that says there's grooved pavement, neither of which is now true, and they've been there for close to a year. I'd like to make a motion to have them removed.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Gravel.
Also, under suspension of the rules, I would like to take item 8G and 8I and refer them to the Subcommittee on Industrial and Community Development for a zoning discussion to be held on June 9th. So moved.
That was 8G and I, Councilor?
Yes.
Can we include H as well? I think that's headed the same place.
Let's throw them all in there.
Thank you. You heard
It's
the motion.
Tom Gould's committee, so let's just pile it on.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
No further motions.
Thank you, Councilor Gravel. Councilor Gould.
Sorry, I'd like to make a co-motion with Councilor Turco, yet there is an update on it I just received, but I'd like to have it on record that Rec Department, please give us an update on the Browns Pond tot lot do-over, makeover. So moved.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? The vote. Councilor Gould.
I'd like to make a motion to receive and approve all papers being in order 8F.
You heard the motion.
Safe
All in
facilities.
favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
No further
Councilor Gould.
motions. No further motions.
Thank you. Item 7A, Councilor Gravel. I'm sorry, Councilor Charist.
I'd like to receive the communication from the MBTA bus route Forest Street.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. We have a late communication that was on your desk. It's from His Honor the Mayor, May 26. It's got a 3 in the upper right-hand corner.
Motion to receive.
I need somebody to look at it and make a more clear motion on it if they would.
Motion to receive and approve the appointment of Chief Steve Pazin as the Emergency Managing Director, term to expire 12/31/2016. So moved.
You heard the motion from Councilor Sinowitz. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Item
8A, Mr. President.
8A is all set. We're going to Councilor Gravel, 8C.
Move to receive and refer to
Finance. I think.
Finance Subcommittee.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. 8D, item, Councilor Gould.
And refer to
Industrial and,
safety?
Industrial and Community
Industrial
Development.
Community
Yep.
Development, I knew that.
I know you did.
So
That's
moved.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
80,
Nope.
all done.
8J.
8J.
No, 8J, yes, thank you. That's me, actually. I need... Bear with me. Nope. This is, item 8J is a request to transfer a special permit at 194 Washington Street. I've spoken to Attorney Kelty on this, and they were agreeable to some additional conditions on this transfer. So it's a transfer with the following additional conditions: hours of operation Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., Saturday 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., and Sunday 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And the second condition is all truck deliveries shall take place at 195 Washington Street. So the motion is for that transfer, all papers in order with the additional two conditions. Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? I'm sorry, can I have that motion from you, Councilor Gould? 185, yeah. So it's so moved as
So moved.
thank you, Councilor. That's it. So you heard the motion from Councilor Gravel. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Thank
Mr.
you.
President, 9B, approval all papers being in order, use of the Wigan Auditorium.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Gravel, 9C.
Junk dealer's license renewal for 2016, GameStop 300 Andover Street, Golden Link 515 Lowell Street. Move, receive, approve, subject to all papers to be in order.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. 9D. Councilor Walsh.
Mr. President, motion to approve the taxi limousine license application of Michael Anisi, license number 01.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Item 9E. Councilor Gravel.
90 is Azorian Brothers of the Divine Holy Ghost, Inc., 20 Hollow Street, set up a hearing.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Item 9F. Councilor, who's got it? Councilor
9F.
Walsh.
Motion to receive and approve the transfer of taxi cab license, Tri-City Services, 55 Rear Walnut Street, license number 1.
Councilors, you heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. I'll take a motion to adjourn. You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? We are adjourned.